I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yeah, me too.
It was a big
I
day.
think it's good.
It was a big day today.
It really was. They've been talking a lot about, January 6th this, January 6th that. But what's really going on? Supposedly one of the Trump supporters is shooting at the Capitol, but is that like any Trump supporter that you've ever seen? I mean, look at all the protests, look at all the rallies. That's how they're claiming it to be on TV. This is, look at this protest that they're having, but everyone, they're putting out American flags. They're not burning anything. They're not, running around. They're not throwing, flashing their guns. They're not doing anything violent like that. So why are they going to call that a protest? It's a rally that Trump had planned. So, for them to say it's a protest, that's even just another sign that they are trying to throw the blue pill down the American people's throat.
So let me ask you, because this just happened a couple of hours ago, what do you think the narrative is on January 6, 2021? Here we are, and there's was originally supposed to be a planned Trump rally.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
Correct.
They stormed it. I'm going to throw air quotes on that because I saw some people holding flags sort of like walk past cops. I didn't see tear gas. I didn't see batons. Like, what did you see? What do you think's happening?
I didn't see riot shields. I didn't see batons or tear gas like you were saying.
Yeah.
I think that they're trying to push a narrative that is 100% false because, quite frankly, I think they're losing and they're realizing it, and they're trying to do any last thing they can to try to, push the narrative that they are, what's right for America. They're what's going to help the people.
Do you think that Donald Trump is actually losing power that matters to him, or do you think that this narrative is all a show, period? Meaning, do you think he is actually under the impression he might somehow still win, or is this all a dog and pony show?
I think he thinks that he is still going to win. I think that he is pretty confident that the American people voted for him. He did have several good points on a number of ballots that were counted 3-4 times over. We can pull up the video on that and just see 3 different workers in this Georgia voting facility. And, apparently they had a water leak, closed the place down. And then after everyone left, I believe they said there was 5 people there, and you could see 3 of them on camera recounting ballots, the same stack 3-4 times.
So let me ask you a question, and let's catch people up. Vincent Jackson, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're talking about politics as an intro to this bigger conversation that I think we practiced for, right? We got together, we had a really good conversation. I remember I picked up my phone. I was like, do you want me to call my producer right now? Like, this is an episode. We almost called you. We decided to use it for practice for this. Do you still believe in a two-party system? Do you think that that's really what's going on, that this is actually Democrats versus Republicans and this is a real power struggle? Or do you think they already know exactly how it's going to go? This is all for show. They're rolling it out on national media for the public. Which do you think it is, or what version?
I think this is a show for the public. I think that there is so much evidence or intel of just how we've been lied to, our whole lives about the government and,
Absolutely.
Who is who they say they are, and just like their real narrative and what their ultimate goal was. Because, just thinking back to it, why did the United States become a corporation in 1914? That's just one thing to throw out there. So, one, if they had America's best interest in mind, why are we a corporation? Why were we sold or purchased as property or goods to Britain?
Yeah, that's something that I would want to do some preparation and research for, or we can look up here, because what I've read says that the reason that America became a corporation is so that it could be dealt with under maritime law. And there are a lot of idiosyncrasies that we're seeing in courtrooms that have to happen, and it's so they can refer to us basically as property on a bill of lading. So, for example, those little double doors at the courthouse?
Yeah.
That's like on a ship galley.
Okay.
Right? I believe I have that terminology correct.
Yeah.
We might have to look this up. You walk through those little doors. The judge is always above you, right? Like the captain. He was up at like station.
Right.
It's all set up that way so that it qualifies under this maritime law, and we should look it up. There's some really great conspiratorial-minded documentaries that actually just kind of lay it out for facts. Like your social security number is sort of like a serial number.
Right.
We're traded on a stock exchange,
Yes.
but it feels dehumanizing. But on the other hand, you are the stock of the country. Its people are its stock. So I'm not completely offended by that one. I don't think it's some secret conspiracy that like we are the property of the country we belong to, but I think that they mean it in a dehumanizing sense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I have issue with it, because I think if we look into this maritime law thing, you're going to see that they're allowed to treat us essentially like property. You lose your rights, and it comes into these nuances of paperwork. There's something about on your birth certificate, your name's typed out in capital letters.
Yes,
And
I remember seeing
that's
this.
done when your property, like on a bill of lading under this maritime law.
Essentially, when your mom signs you over, when she signs your birth certificate, it's essentially signing you over to become property or a warden of the state.
Sure.
And the state being the United States, the
Right.
corporation.
Right. Oh yeah, we could get onto that one. That's a whole prepisode right there.
All right,
you know,
yeah.
you and I are getting into that one. But let's talk about what's going on today with this quote unquote seizing of the Capitol. I feel like that was really strong. I feel like a lot of dudes with flags, maybe a few with guns, kind of walked into a mostly empty building and sat and waved flags.
Right.
Felt peaceful to me, although they did push past cops. They were trespassing, I assume. They weren't supposed to be in there. But what do you think was really going on? What is this narrative that democracy doesn't work?
You know, I think that they are just slowly trying to take our rights away from us. And when, you know, that's why they're pushing so hard. They have this bigger plan. They have this bigger agenda that we have seen, you know, roll out in a sense over the years. Just, you know, some things that have broke the news with the Pope and the Vatican, things like that.
They own a pretty big telescope.
Right, right. And so,
what do you think the bigger narrative is, though? Like, what do you think is actually happening, big picture? What's the agenda? And then we'll get into these nuances like them storming the Capitol.
okay. So I think right now a lot of people, I think the left is doing everything they can to try to push their narrative that they're better for the people, better for America. And reason is because I feel like they have already lost a lot of their power, lost a lot of the things that they, you know, were stepping on that they had in their back pocket and didn't realize it.
I heard you say financial reset.
Yes.
So that perks my ears really hard, because if that was the case, if we went really deep into suspended disbelief on that conspiracy theory and found a lot of truth to bite onto, and we thought that's what was coming, it kind of makes sense, right?
Yes.
We've run up too much debt. We occasionally loan printing presses to other countries to just let them print our currency because we owe them so much money. You have to, conspiracy guys look that up, fact checkers look that up. We're in so much debt. Everybody's in so much debt. The housing market's about to crash again. People are about to get evicted. People are in line the night before for food the next day.
Right.
American folks. This financial crisis is going to be real. It's a matter of months, but too many people were out of work for too long. So many checks don't seem to have gotten cut. Financial reset seems to make sense. It all seems to be tumbling down. Maybe they forgive a bunch of debt, let people off the hook. But do you think it's a doom and gloom scenario?
What do you mean by doom and gloom?
I mean, it's
Like,
the fucking
we're-
ruling elite always. It's the 1.5% are going to keep all the money at the top. We know the trickle-down theory doesn't work. We can go through the economics, and Noam Chomsky explains it well. We know this stuff. They just want to keep the money vacuumed to the ceiling.
Yeah, I see
Right?
where you're coming from now.
So am I one of those people that thinks they launched the pandemic? Really not necessarily. I completely could believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a strong feeling either way, but I know for fuck's sake they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Certainly they are. The sharp people, they're people that have so much money. They have teams of analysts sharper than them to make those kind of calls.
Right.
Look at how many people were selling their stocks. How many of this upper echelon ruling class was selling their fucking stocks, and a few of them got caught for it. You know,
Right.
that's probably just because the
Before
information
pandemic.
before the pandemic is the whole point. I think that they just naturally, organically get the information quicker than the public. That makes sense. It has to filter through them. But they sure weren't putting it on the front page for those of us that might have portfolios and would like to not lose our ass.
Right.
They weren't trying to help the American people with it, but they wanted to make sure they covered their ass and sold their stock. And we know that that's why they want to rule humanity, because they're greedy and they're concerned with themselves. So fine. Knowing all that, hearing you say financial reset last time, what do you think they're trying to blow it up for?
I think that, like you were saying, we have just, as America, come to such a bad spot financially. There's people who have missed 6-7 months of rent. And, thank God Trump, did an executive order postponing evictions and, things like that until after the new year. And he said, and, payroll taxes, things like that. But I think with this great reset, I've heard from some sources that they have been running this QFS, quantum financial system, in tandem with what we have going on currently.
And this is where it got meaty when we were talking before.
Yes. So with that being said, it's a quantum system, so it runs very fast. It can process things instantly. It's 2021 now. Why are we waiting 3-4 days for our bank transfers to clear?
Yeah, it's pretty insane, right?
It's pretty insane. And that's, part of the corrupt scheme that I believe the left has going on. Talking about these taxes that have been illegal that we've been, paying into on everything. The only thing that's supposed to be taxed are non-essential items.
Yeah.
When they're brand new, not when you go and buy a used car off the car lot that's already been taxed 3-4 times.
It's something that I say all the time when I see these budget expenditures in the news that are just off the fucking rails.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years, 3 back, whatever, when they couldn't come up with 3.2 trillion, when what's his talking head is on there and he's officially speaking for the presidential party at the time. And yeah, gosh, black projects, gee, I don't know, 3.2 trillion or some outrageous number. That's when you get pissed.
Right.
That's when you go, yeah, fuck, we all got to pay taxes because I want to drive on nice roads and I don't want to see litter, and we all got to pitch in our communities. Taxes, sure. I don't think any of us ever agreed to income tax.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of evidence it's not lawful. So I'd like to look further into that myself. I've heard of some people winning cases and never paying it again. It cost you to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're validating that it's probably not an institution the people are behind, right?
Right.
And then you get taxed at the state level. Like we pay 0.07975 in Missouri, so 8% basically. Mm-hmm. Then the local business owners, like where we live, you can pay 1% because they own the center that Target's in.
Right.
Okay, now I'm up to 9%. I pay property tax. I already own it. You didn't come guard it for me. And so I talked to a client of mine that I was doing graphics for that happened to be a business analyst and accountant.
Okay.
And he said that we keep about 45% of our money.
Wow. When it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done, you just go to the grocery store, you just buy your gas and a pack of smokes and Twinkies and whatever the American public spends their money on. He said if you really just shake it down, it's about 45% that you keep.
Wow.
Because you just get taxed to death out in the world.
Everything.
I don't think any of us agreed to that.
No, we never did.
So when something big happens like the pandemic and they're throwing money around, certainly I think the American people would like to see where it's going. But we all know how these bills work. They go, well, we know this one's going to pass because everybody wants $600 checks again. So let's just lump a bunch of stuff on there. And that brings us right back to today. So in that financial bill, we all saw in the major networks that one of the stipulations was that all of the 3-letter societies in the U.S. government, right? The alphabets, the CIA, the FBI, that everybody has to divulge whatever knowledge they have on UFOs, right?
Correct.
What do you think that's going to be like?
I think that is going to be insane. There's been all of these people who have been called conspiracy theorists, crazy people, just, these names because people think that there was just no way. But if you go to CIA.gov, you can already look at declassified documents of sightings all around the world. You can see investigations on their actual aircraft, how they came about, and there's something in there even about what Area 51 really is. So, with that being said, it's out there to search, but when you go to search for it on Google, you're not necessarily going to find it.
Sure.
It's hidden, it's shadow banned.
It's really interesting because there's a lot of stuff that I'm not up on right away, and it has nothing to do with age or culture or anything except for the fact that I don't latch on to terminology or these new institutions until I really understand them. Let me be clear. I don't really completely understand Black Lives Matter. I would like to. I think it's one of those things that on the surface appears one way, but there's a lot of nuances. I don't know if they're good or bad. I don't know about this QAnon?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a grasp on that. I don't know what the Proud Boys are. Is that like a white pride thing?
I don't know that it's necessarily a white pride thing. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I do know that they made the news recently.
And that's why I don't know anything about them. And that's why I don't know anything about these topics that people are out there marching on because they think they know so much about it. And maybe they do, and I just don't. The reason I don't is because it's on the news. Mm-hmm. Because they might show these guys called the Proud Boys, and you get people like me that just glance at it, didn't really hear the news report. And I'm sitting here going, are they white supremacists? And then there's a soundbite. There's an impression. Now maybe other people think that because I said it. I don't know what would come out of their mouths if we went, what are you guys about? Tell us what you guys are about.
Right. And, I think it would be far from white supremacists. And the reason I say that is because anything that is said by somebody who is in power, Trump, it is taken and twisted 4 different ways and then put out as a complete different narrative, 100% opposite of what he intended it to be.
Sure.
Now, I know that the Proud Boys had said something on a news, or maybe, they got filmed and this video came out and it was put completely different. They cut little parts out, made him say something completely different. So whenever Trump, during one of the first debates with Biden, Biden started bringing something up about white supremacists. And Trump was like, what do you want me to say? Antifa? It's not the Proud Boys. They're not white supremacists. And just completely blurted that out, and it was missed. We could go back and, I didn't even catch it when they said that. I saw that somebody who follows QAnon posted, a clip of that and, went back and replayed it, and you can actually see that Trump is denying the fact that the Proud Boys are a white supremacist group.
Okay. So do you think that because he's denying it, that means it's true because he's a genuine supporter of their actual beliefs?
I don't know that he's necessarily supporting it. He didn't come out and say, I fully support, he said, well, who do you want me to say? The Proud Boys? It's not them. Something, along those lines. Don't, take it word for word.
Sure.
But I think that what they're doing is what we can't get the police in these cities to do. So when these riots started going crazy, that's when I saw the Proud Boys start to surface. And I didn't really follow it too much. But I think that they're pretty much just showing hey, we, are for the people, and we have rights with our guns. We can protect ourselves, and it's self-defense. And so, these people who are going out and doing mass shootings, doing bombings, I think they're there more or less to help protect the people and show them that there is still someone on the right side out there.
How much of the narrative do you think is genuine? And let me be very clear. So there was some debate during the initial riots, I want to say George Floyd riots, and there's been a slew of them. So forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was over George Floyd, bless him, and there were professionally delivered bins of bricks dropped off in places that there was going to be looting. So, is this one of those things where CIA, FBI, alphabets, I don't know, is involved and there's a reason to heat this up? Is there somebody in the Trump campaign that wanted to shake this up? They were trying to undermine democracy so that they could claim that Joe Biden didn't win because the process doesn't work. Who's dropping off bins of bricks for rioters? Who the fuck is doing that, right? So when I see things like they storm the Capitol and I see a bunch of guys waving flags and then I hear somebody get shot, I'm wondering what is this narrative that they're throwing at us? Why do they want those visuals in front of us? What are we supposed to be scared of? Is this supposed to look like the start of a civil war? Because I've said it the whole time. I take something like that very seriously, but who's going to fight it? Not to be a dick, but we don't know guys that are going to fight it. We'd all like to think we could. Because I pick up heavy stuff in the gym. I definitely know how to start fires is not a good line of reasoning.
Right.
I'm a big, strong guy, so I could catch a fish and gut it and cook it is not a good line of reasoning. So I know a lot of guys that could make it. I don't think any of us are prepping for the end of the world. I think it's like COVID lockdown. Mm-hmm. I think practical preppers are prepping for a real fucking inconvenient 3 months, where we just want to feel normal every day instead of be out of toilet paper and using tube socks or whatever horror stories you hear, right? So when I'm seeing this narrative, what are they preparing us for? What have we been prepared for this whole time? We're coming up on the second round of lockdowns. I'm going to make the prediction right now. I'm on the side that says we're going to lock down again.
I think we are.
All right. I think it's probably unavoidable. So why? Why? How does it all connect? How does it all string together? Like, let's put on the tinfoil hats and get out the yarn and push pins and like, what is really going on here after this year?
Right. Well, what's really going on? If we take a step back, we can look at, some major things that happened over the year. And, we can step back a little bit on QAnon. You said you didn't really understand much of what was going on. Now, take everything I say with a grain of salt, but QAnon has proven to be a good source of intel. And I say that because they have time after time again said something, published something, and came out and blatantly said something was going to happen. Sure enough, it happens. Now, not every single thing they post says it exactly what's going to happen. Some of them are decodes. Some of them are, they're encoded so you can't just search for them. And, so the people who are, apparently a part of the deep state don't necessarily find it and see what's going to happen. But for one example, one thing that Q said was...
Let me stop you, though, before we move forward. Like, let's unpack this for people, because I had to ask you, because I don't form my opinions based on what the news is showing us. Mm-hmm. What's QAnon? So
QAnon is a intelligence group that, appears to be involved with Trump's administration very strongly.
So when you say intelligent group, QAnon is like CIA or FBI. Like, you're saying that this is an acronym for a government institution that may be working for or been formed by the Trump campaign?
Sort of.
Okay,
and
fair.
It may have... So... QAnon, Q is the highest level of clearance you can have in the military. So highest level of clearance that anybody can have, and pretty much everything is declassified to you.
Okay.
So QAnon came onto some public boards back in 2016 making some crazy claims, and people definitely thought that it was, not true.
So did QAnon stand for Q question and answer, or anonymous answer? QAnon was question and anonymous reply. Is that right?
I don't know if it was that. I know that they're referencing Q as being the highest level of intelligence in the military. And so that's pretty much saying, like, this is our clearance, and then Anon is obviously anonymous.
So I'm an anonymous person with this clearance that's going to WikiLeaks basically
Correct.
Onto this board.
Correct.
Are we talking like 1995, 6, 7, 8, like boards, BBSs, dial-up?
So
that's where it started?
4chan boards, public boards like that. And so, on 4chan, you can't believe everything you see. Everything is...
Most of what I see is like furry porn. I don't go to that website much. I'm like, what is this?
Is people trolling. And so over time, they moved to a different board that's very similar to 4chan, but it's called 8kun. And it's because 4chan ended up getting some people in there who were a part of... the moderation team to silence that and to kind of keep it hidden from 4chan so people didn't find it. So they switched to 8kun, and since then there hasn't been anything being banned or deleted from there.
Okay, that's cool.
So on, these boards, there's an identifier that's assigned to each person who views the website, essentially. And so this same identifier has been posting... When they first started posting it, what they said didn't really make sense, but after their third or fourth post... there was everything that Trump was going to do or something that happened was posted there first.
Okay, so that was going to be my next line of questioning was, let's give people some details to bite onto where we can look this up. Like, what's the evidence that this has been legitimized? And so to be clear, we've only unpacked it onto this one website. Couldn't I go be QAnon, like at so-and-so? Couldn't I hashtag a bunch of shit?
No.
Because I kind of feel like that's what that channel Anonymous Official is. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like it's just like the ultimate clickbaity, regurgitated information that every prepper got at level 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
right.
Anonymous Official. And I'm not trying to diss the channel. It's cool. It's a cool, like, intro. Way into prepping. I don't know how to describe it. Into conspiracies. I think that, like, Anonymous Official has maybe become the gateway. Mm-hmm. So that's a neat channel. People can check that out. But it's just not meaty, and so I want to give people something to latch onto. Let's post in the comments what the links are to this stuff. Let's put in the description where they can see on the CIA website those links you sent me, because it was pretty juicy. They're certainly looking into UFOs, but I think we all knew that. So with the QAnon, I would love at some point on the website to post some of what you're talking about, just showing whether this is or is not legitimate information to depend on.
Yes.
Because there is such a thing as disinformation campaigns.
Correct.
So whoever this Q person is, supposedly with Q level clearance, this anonymous person could dump 3 truths and then a shit ton of lies and everybody buys them. So again, I don't know what this stuff is because the only place I hear about these entities is in the mainstream media, and I know that they're painting pictures in broad swaths of what they want me to see and believe.
Correct.
So I'm trying to get to the juicy parts of this QAnon. So please continue. Like, you believe that these guys are telling the truth because of these reasons we're going to look up?
Yes. So, there
Let's
could
go
only
with that.
be so many coincidences of something happening before it's just mathematically possible. So I'll start with that, and we'll pause right here and we'll get the research, or we'll get it pulled up, so then when we talk about it, we're spitting it and then we're showing it, and it's in line.
Oh
yeah,
right.
So let's get a couple things pulled up. So
all right, we're still on QAnon.
Yes, QAnon. So one thing to pull up, actually I was going to try to find this video.
So I want to know everything about these guys, period. But I don't have a grasp of what it is yet and who could potentially be behind it. Like, is it supposedly known who the founders are? Is this a very transparent sort of organization? They're like some kind of weird union?
I don't necessarily think it's like some sort of weird union.
No, let me back that up. Is it like a WikiLeaks?
Yes.
Okay. Because there have to be people. I said union. That was tongue-in-cheek. What I meant was somebody has to run the computers and the server somewhere and maintain all of that information and update the website. So there's a team of people. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't know anything. They're just hired. But, even WikiLeaks, I'm sure, has a building of people somewhere. Okay, so, Aiden, can you tell me what QAnon is, man, from here? Or who's controlling this screen?
Oh, I am.
And they jumped over on 8chan, huh? That's pretty funny. QAnon is a disproven and discredited far-right conspiracy theory. The guy with temporarily missing 2 teeth is reading this. Alleging that a cabal of Satan-worshipping pedophiles is running a global child sex trafficking ring and plotting against U.S. President Donald Trump, who is fighting the cabal. Okay. Donald Trump, who married a model who was fucking a porn star, is not fighting anybody who's trying to fuck people. He doesn't give a shit. He's not fighting those people.
Yeah.
So I don't buy that. And I don't buy that Donald Trump, of all billionaires, and we have a lot in the world these days, is some kind of like good guy. I don't buy that either, personally. I don't think you make it to that level in any form of good guy. Also, maybe there's a lot of real information in there and then some disinformation, because there was a sex island where they were fucking kids. That exists. Yes. We found it. It's out there. So maybe it's not so out there what they're saying. What do you think, Aiden?
I don't freaking know.
Think it's a bunch of boy lovers running government? The highest levels? They did have a weird sex island. Did you see the painting of Bill Clinton in a dress and red heels?
No, I did not.
On that island in Epstein's living room, there's a real painting of Bill Clinton in a dress. It's fucking epic.
Wow.
Maybe that's what I've been saving my back for. Maybe that's my back piece, because I'm just like mesmerized that this exists, Okay, so what are you looking up for us?
Dude, so there was this video, how QAnon is part of the Trump administration and it is gone. So anyways, it was a video that broke down a lot of the posts against a lot of events that happen and how they coincide with each other. So, we were talking about 8chan being a public board where people can talk, and you're like, okay, how do they know it's Q? Could I just go on and say I'm Q?
Right.
But no, so if we go to 8chan, you can see that each person who posts has a unique identifier. And so Q's unique identifier is a little bit different than everyone else's, and it has 2 exclamation points like right at the beginning of it. And so there you can't like pretend to be someone else's ID. It's just randomly generated. It's just how it works. It's always been like that.
So you think QAnon initially was one person divulging information?
I think it was a group of people who set it. one person was posting for this group of people and dropping bombs and intel of what was going to happen, what was going to go down.
Okay.
And every one of their posts have pretty much proven to be that. And so since we cannot find this video,
so how many QAnon posts, at least of this
we can
initial
go to
variety?
QAnon.pub, and that will pull open all of the posts. So there's 4,953 posts since
4,900 posts since
4,900
that
posts.
unique identifier that's QAnon popped up on this 4chan that turned into 8con.
8con. So this here is a compilation and reference for all of the posts. So you can click on each one of those IDs, number 119. Nope, over just a little bit.
119.
Yeah, or it says number and it's
The
a hyperlink.
hypertext next to the green.
Oh.
Nope.
The right side, or
No.
talking about this?
Yeah, it's the blue one right there.
So that's a
that will
unique
go
post
directly
identifier.
to the post on 8con, and it's loading. It should jump down to it. So it jumped down to it. Shall we play a game? NCSWIC. Nothing can stop what is coming. And so they've been saying that for quite some time now. And I'll find these. We can find these posts to reference back.
but hold on. Let's hover right here. It says more coming ? Why is this relevant ? Is he about to answer it? Are they about to answer it? It looks like all questions. How do you show the public the truth ? Why don't you just show us here? Why do you air quotes safeguard U.S. election post POTUS ? How do you remove air quotes or quotations in this case foreign interference and corruption and install U.S. owned voter ID laws and other safeguards?
So they're asking questions, and it's so that they're not going to come out and blatantly say. So sometimes they blatantly do say things. Now this one here is more or less a decode. So for example, how do you remove foreign interference and corruption and install
something like a Patriot Act
voter IDs? So before that they can prove that something has voter fraud, before they can rule it out and bring in something new, they have to prove that something is and can be.
So you're saying in the recent election that the voter fraud is something that QAnon's interested in?
Definitely. So their whole
Haven't they
agenda,
found...
and this ties into the QFS, to the quantum system, and that's referenced on quantum.gov. Now, the whole quantum system, there's going to be a quantum financial system, and there's going to be a quantum voting system. Now, why? It's because everybody is the ledger. That's how blockchains work. And so voting, they had to prove that this old way that we do things can be very fraudulent, and they had to prove it and show how. So Trump came out and said that in 2017 he had X amount of ballots printed with this negative isotope in the paper, and that was it. That was final. So they have proof of all of these ballots that were printed when they weren't supposed to be.
Okay, that's already really weird right there, because Donald Trump, the civilian, or Donald Trump, the president, is not allowed to print ballots, I'm pretty sure. I feel like I'm pretty safe saying that. So that's already pretty freaky if that's true. So, you don't just get to be a billionaire, and because you're a billionaire or because you're president, you get to print ballots, right?
Yeah.
So what the fuck if that's true? Can we look it up? Can we keep this window and just do new windows every time so we don't lose anything, come back to it? Okay, but I'm on this because whether we're supposed to do it or not, if this is true, these ballots are showing up. They got distributed.
Yes.
They were used.
They were used.
Where are they popping up?
So apparently they have all of everything that they need. And, one thing, like these fact checkers, like everything that you search of something that happened on Google, we're not going to necessarily
No, that's all
find.
engineered. Yeah.
Yes.
That's all shadow banned, filtered, engineered results, and we all know it. And that's cool. I'm not disturbed by that.
So it's not necessarily that Trump printed the ballots. Obviously, there's procedures, there's things in place, but
So you've got ballots, they'll show up under ultraviolet light. Great. Where did they go and what does it mean? Like, did they find them in ditches?
Well, they may have. What I know, what was told to the public was that there were ballots, legitimate ballots had a negative isotope in it, and that these other ballots that were
Didn't have them.
Fabricated did not have them, and it's because they didn't know about it. They didn't know that was something that was done.
Yeah, I work in the print industry. There's a lot of that. We reference Magic the Gathering a lot on this vodcast, and it's so genius. The guy that invented the game, he had a PhD in mathematics. He built in to the card printing process what's called a rosé pattern. And I'm sure if I have that wrong right now, MTG guys are going to explode on my comments. But I'm pretty sure it's called the rosé pattern. And what it is it's this multi-dot pattern that does slightly resemble it under a loop, under a printer's loop. But that's his specific printing pattern. If you don't own a jeweler's loop and you're just knocking these things off in China and you didn't know about the rosé pattern, they come up fake as shit.
Yep.
And so it's those little intricacies where they can catch people sometimes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't know, they're just printing fake ballots, right?
Exactly.
So how do they register them? Like you said, negative isotope. I don't actually know what that means. Maybe you could tell me, but how do they find them? I mean, flashlights that...
That's a very good question. I don't know, but I do know that was what was told. I don't know.
Where'd you hear that?
I heard that from... I don't know.
Fair. Well, then we're going to look it up. I like to fact check everything, and I like the conversation rolling out organically, but let's look all of it up.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm gonna use DuckDuckGo because I know that it's not influenced. There isn't things that are shadow banned on there.
Okay. Tell people about DuckDuckGo. What is that?
So DuckDuckGo is a search engine or iPhone app or Android app that essentially stops tracking and everything that Google does. It takes...
It's like the Signal search engine?
Yes, exactly. It's the Signal of search engines.
That's dope. Okay. DuckDuckGo. Let's check it out.
So...
That's a cool logo. That logo makes me happy. Good job, design team. I mean, I feel like it's the green bow tie that does it for me. It's a happy duck, dude. It's also a dapper duck. So just to tie all of this together, because...
Okay, so this... watermarked ballot was confirmed in Sidney Powell's lawsuit.
Who's Sidney Powell?
So Sidney Powell is counsel for General Flynn.
Okay.
General Michael Flynn, who, as you know, received a pardon for Trump. Now, we're talking about Flynn right now. We're talking about QAnon. We may as well pull up the video where General Flynn is giving obvious signs to QAnon, pretty much saying, I back it, I support it.
Really?
So let me get this pulled up.
Now, back or support what? Like, let me still just kind of breathe in QAnon. Like, if this is one source of information, whether it's a group of people with this clearance, which seems unlikely to me, because if it's the rarest clearance, how many people have it? Thousands or 50?
I think it's less than 50.
Really?
Yeah, I think who have that clearance at least, but what I've put together, I think the QAnon team is 20 or less.
Really?
Everybody involved in QAnon.
So I have to pose the question, does it make it more or less likely that it's a group of people releasing this information, that the clearance level might only be 50 people? I have trouble believing that you couldn't vet the shit out of 50 people and fucking know those 50 people aren't rats. I could see you always monitoring those people. I could see you always assessing that as a risk.
Yeah.
But my point is, maybe if they had mind-blowing enough information, like about extraterrestrial life or a giant financial crisis, they just become humans at that point.
Yeah.
And out of 50 people, 3 of them cave, and they're like, shit, people got to know this stuff. But so let's look. What has QAnon told us? What's their narrative? What have they released from the beginning you described to me to where we're at today? What does QAnon say?
So let's go. One of the things that QAnon says is where we go one, we go all. And that's one of the things that Flynn specifically said with his entire family after he was pardoned. And then after that, his Twitter background was where we go one, we go all, WW1 WGA. And that's one thing that was started by QAnon.
Okay.
And so, somebody being...
Is that a military thing? QAnon could be military guys?
So, military top clearance. So
okay. So you think he has top clearance?
He definitely has Q clearance. Q clearance or Q access authorization is the Department of Energy security clearance required to access top secret restricted data, formally restricted data, and national security information, as well as secret restricted data. Restricted data is defined in the Atomic Energy Act of 1954 and covers nuclear weapons and related materials. So everything that is classified, this person, whoever has Q clearance, can see it.
Okay. I could see there being a level of clearance above top secret nuclear. I've heard Dr. Stephen Greer from MUFON talk about it a lot, that there's cosmic clearance. And I think that a lot of what Dr. Stephen Greer has said in the past has been validated with the creation of Space Force, right? So, you know, this Skynet that they're putting up, this Starlink network.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things that he said and referenced definitely have come to fruition. And he doesn't hint at stuff. I mean, he'll come out and name names. He's a pretty direct guy. So I don't think he's like a prophet. I just think he either is or is not very dialed in. You know?
Yeah.
I'm leaning towards he is. I think he's pretty legitimate. But my point is, I've heard him talk about that. So what is it that QAnon is trying to achieve? And does that just end now that Trump's not going to be president anymore? Like, is QAnon done? I'm trying to envision 50 people hold the keys to the world information-wise. And we think a couple of them got together and had a moral dilemma, and they start releasing this information under this handle QAnon. And we're getting what information is the question I'm posing to you. Like, what do you think the overall is? What'd they leak first? What came true?
So what they started to leak first were things about what we know as the deep state and just kind of a motive behind that and different events that were about to happen.
You're saying they named events and those events occurred.
And those events occurred.
Let's look up those early posts and see if it happened.
So if you go to the QAnon site, go to the other tab. Up here, it might be either this one or the next one. Click one of the two. Oh, go ahead and click the other one.
Bro, this is cool.
It may have froze, but click that book. Nope. Oh, nope, that's it. So Q proofs. So we can go through these and we'll find the ones that hit, but there's a video that broke it all down. That's what I was trying to find. But these individual pictures here will link things together. We'll draw the conclusion. Okay, this is one that I actually just wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So somebody posted publicly right here.
So let's describe it. Let's describe it.
So this is a picture of a post on 8kun. Now,
Donald Trump standing next to Melania Trump.
Correct. So now somebody posted in the Q research group, maybe can Q work the phrase tip top into the State of the Union or into the speech of the United States as a shout out to the board.
Maybe Q can work the phrase. So Q could be a Trump advisor.
So Q is definitely in Trump's administration.
Okay.
Or advisor, however you want to look at it.
Or somebody's just naming Q and Q has nothing to do with this. Always possible. I mean, someone just typed, hey, maybe Vincent Jackson could do something, blah, blah, blah. It's like, whoa, I'm just Vincent Jackson. I didn't say I was doing anything.
Right.
Possible.
So
but
they're just doing it as like, hey, can you show us if this is legit? Because this is one of the earlier posts 2 years in. So this is 2018. So we'll pull up this video. It was the Easter video. And Trump said, also, I want to thank the White House, Historical Association, all of the people that worked so hard with Melania, with everybody to keep this incredible house in tip-top shape. Sometimes we call it tippity-top shape.
Shit, yeah.
So there's several other things where Trump has gone out and made himself look like a complete idiot. It's because he doesn't care what mainstream news says about him.
He's talking to a different entity.
He is talking to a different group of people who he knows support them and who are waiting for the next drop. And he's just confirming something that he's just given confirmation. So another thing, we'll find the next one.
Hold on, though. Just because I like to flesh these things out,
yeah.
Let's say that Q is in Trump's administration, and that's who's been leaking information. So they must have a clearance that Donald Trump knows about, and Donald Trump has the same clearance, I would guess, but maybe not. We've heard traditionally that they tell presidents, I'm sorry, you're a civil servant. You're here 4 years. You know, we've got this other thing going on. You don't need to know. I mean, we've traditionally heard presidents report that. You've seen him on the Tonight Show kind of thing. Jimmy Kimmel's, and he's trying to get it out of Obama. He's trying to get it out of Clinton, whoever's interviewing him, you know, are aliens real kind of thing. And they're like, man, I can't talk about it. A lot of them say, though, I dug like hell, and they shut me down. They said, president doesn't get to know. Right? So this Q person, which is being named here, which may or may not have said this, could also be misleading the president. Like, I always think these people are puppets to a large degree. They're just working on their own agendas. So there's a speechwriter named Q, whatever the person's real name is, and they put in this thing that says tip top and tippity top into a speech. The president looks at it, and that's kind of common terminology, but he's really being used to deliver a message that now sounds to that group of people that would receive that message accurately like it came from Donald Trump. You see how many layers there are to the onion? It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, so yeah, I definitely see where you're coming. So we'll break it down a little bit. So they know that Q is not Trump, but they're saying they know that Q has already claimed to be a part of Trump's administration. So they said, hey, if you really are, this is just a little shout out to the board, to the people who have been following the past couple of years. Can you do this? So this is just one of the hundreds of things that have happened, and we'll go down.
And this was posted before or after the speech?
So this here was posted, but 1/29/18, April 1st is when that speech happened. It was requested. Did you listen today? Q. They responded to them, quoted what they said.
And so then the image pointing out that it happened was posted later to verify that this occurred. Correct. So to be clear, Q is claiming to have the ability, showing us through actions,
to talk to Trump directly.
Talk to the president directly. Interesting. And is claiming to have this nuclear plus level clearance, supposedly the highest in the country.
Q level clearance.
Okay.
Correct. So another thing that also, you can take it with a grain of salt, but every president has got their number of presidents number on a jersey. So Trump is the 45th president, and he got the number 17. Obama got the number 44. Before him, Bush got 43.
What are those numbers representing to those people?
So those numbers represent the number of president, the number...
What president they were consecutively, right? 42, 43, 44, correct. And then Trump drops 17.
17.
What does 17 mean?
17, Q is the 17th letter in the alphabet. And so...
That's interesting.
We'll go through and we'll pop up some videos here, but Trump started making a lot of air cues going like this.
Okay, I'd like to see some of those.
So he's
Aiden,
doing
are you on
cues,
this? I mean, maybe he just got the jersey with 17 because that was the age he stopped being attracted to his daughter because she was too old for him now. That was low. I'm sorry.
So
fuck those guys. Anyways, no, really, you think that that's what it is? It's that direct. The president gets a jersey. He doesn't go for 23. He goes, or whatever his number would have been, his 44th, right? He goes 17. You think that points straight to the alphabet and Q.
Another thing, and most presidents talk about their year in office, their year and a half. When Trump hit 17 months in office, he said this has been a great past 17 months. So, I mean, that's kind of random,
That's a little random. I do, though, on the news, it always trips me out because I'm not
even 18. That's false. They may have given him another number, but when he became president in 2016, he chose Q, the number 17. Go to DuckDuckGo.
Yeah,
and just type in Trump jersey 17.
Excuse me. I'm a little sick of the word narrative.
Oh, I can add it to Chrome. Okay, I gotcha.
But it's really what's going on here. I mean, this is what the news does, is it rolls out these impressions we're supposed to make.
Correct.
Right? And they're real on the nose. They're real like, you get it, right? Well, that's the impression we want to smack you with. And that's good. It's digestible for people that aren't really paying attention.
Right.
And that's what they're trying to do. The mainstream news is not going after the thinkers of the world.
Right.
And okay, cool. So they're reporting their little storyboard. Mm-hmm. But you think unfiltered on DuckDuckGo, we get a different storyboard.
I think so.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Interesting. So Trump definitely got, it looks like, a couple of jerseys. I mean, there's 45 for 45th president on a football jersey.
That are out there. But if you type in Trump jersey 17, number 17. Oh, look, 17 was there.
Oh, man.
So you can see he holds that up everywhere he goes.
That looks like a Seahawks jersey. Am I right? Is that?
What
am I seeing there? Donald Trump at the White House, Chicago. QAnon jersey 17. Click on that red one. Who gave him that? Receives a jersey from the 2017 what? Because that would explain the 17.
Yeah, and that narrative may have been changed.
Okay, from the 2017 NCAA football national champions, the Alabama Crimson Tides, Bradley Bozeman, etc. So I think
So
that's referencing the year 2017. And also, who the fuck is paying $499 for a print of this?
Yeah.
Oh, Getty Images. Get fucked. Good luck with that one.
So this isn't necessarily what I'm talking about, but you can see when he's at the White House in office, when you look up presidents and their jerseys, something like that, because you can see every president in the White House with their jersey number, the number of president that they are.
Sure.
And Trump did not get 45.
Let's find that, because here's the thing. Like, I'm latched on. I'm bought in. I believe what you believe, but I like to fact check everything.
Yeah.
Because that's the motherfucker, right? You get one thing wrong and they're like, oh yeah, look at this, like flat earther.
So Giants gave Bush 43. That's his presidency number. Obama 44. Go down. So that does say 1 in 45, but that's clearly not Trump or anything there.
I'm surprised they didn't just give Bush like some crayons and tell him to sit down.
No kidding.
You ever listen to that man give a speech? Gee, golly. Monkeys with typewriters, that man's brain. Okay, so I do want to fact check this stuff. I want to look into it, and I don't want to sound like I'm disbelieving what you're saying, but we have to be rigorous if we're looking for the truth and figuring out how much of this stuff has been staged, even accidentally, right? Like once in a while, a soundbite latches on, and it wasn't the truth. It wasn't supposed to be the truth, but people heard it, and they're like, you know what I heard? And they start repeating this shit. I mean, humans are a bunch of fucking parrots, right?
Right.
So I want to know how many of these things could have started out as like a meme, or once again, he just won a jersey in 2017. He was presented this 2017 NCAA jersey. That's why the 17. Flash forward to 2020. Some guy smacks QAnon on it and the world goes nuts. That's just negligent graphic design.
Yeah.
That's not right. So I like to fact check this stuff, because while I believe that the world is ruled by about 500 people and the rest of us are all just slaves to them, while I buy into that, I don't buy into all the nooks and crannies of any of the conspiracies I've ever read. It's just too easy. And I think it's lazy not to do the research. And so I really like to sit here and live time get to the bottom of some of the stuff that we're hearing, because you could spend all day watching what they tell you the truth is on either side. It's definitely only a conspiracy on BitChute, and it's definitely not on Fox fucking 11, right?
Right.
And then everything in between, 1,000 shades of gray. You could spend all day watching what people want to pump into your eyeballs. Doing the research is different. Mm-hmm. So what else on QAnon? You seem pretty hyped to these guys, and I want to get hype on them too.
Yeah, and it's not that I just watch a video or I see something and I believe it immediately. I've done the research. I've spent the time to dig into this, and I took everything that I saw with a grain of salt, and there's only so many things,
and you believe
it. So many coincidences until it's mathematically it was possible, it was planned this way, it was meant to happen.
Sure.
Sort of thing. So, we can dig back into the Q proofs right here and dig into that. Now that, the jersey, the 17, that wasn't necessarily there. It was just another coincidence, if you will. So let's go back to the QAnon tab, the first one there.
I mean, let's look at some of the other evidence, because
yeah, go ahead, click back.
There's a lot of these entities I don't understand right now, but I want to know, let's say that right now we validate QAnon, and you and I both feel warm and fuzzy inside that these guys are legit. What's the punchline? Like, what did they say is about to happen?
They say what's about to happen is a great reset. Not
like a
cut
global.
That out. No, take that out, because the Great Reset is what's being used by New World Order, or essentially, right? So what's happening is they're claiming that Nasara and Jassara is coming out. So Jassara is a global reset and Nasara is a national reset. And now it's starting to come in that
what are those terms referencing? Where do those come from?
Financial reset. So that's actually referencing a bill that was passed in early 2000s, I believe. They were trying to get something for the farmers, a great reset, because there's some we'll
farming's a nightmare. It's so tough for those guys. I mean, here we are, like we're even near farm communities here at Lake of the Ozarks, right? Some of those guys have it really tough. They make it so hard on farmers, and Monsanto can get fucked. I mean, they're just destroying farm life for Americans, right?
Yeah.
My grandparents used to have a legitimate farm.
Okay.
You almost can't do that today. They'll run you out of business.
Mm-hmm.
They'll fine you to death. They'll slap you with bills for shit. They'll FDA you to death. You know, I've watched documentaries on it. They don't want us to have the capability to grow our own food. They don't want the knowledge out there because it takes nickels out of their pockets.
Right.
They have to have every dollar.
It's all about this.
Yeah. So the farming has become very difficult in America, and that's super disheartening.
You want me to just continue so you click on something?
Let's see a couple of these from QAnon. So the narrative that we're after here, God, I'm sick of that word. I'm going to get away from it. It's all I hear in the news. It's why it's coming out of my mouth. The narrative that we're on here, though, is that there's about to be a giant financial reset. However, I think it's no coincidence they released a bunch of photographs of unidentified flying somethings. Correct. And then it's in this bill that just passed to give everybody their COVID checks. God bless, everybody needs them. But it's in that bill that all these 3-letter entities have to release the information that they have on UFOs in 180 days. That's pretty freaky little subtext to just have in there, right?
Yeah.
So what is that saying to us? What's that supposed to say to us? And what does it say?
I think it's saying get ready. You know, we're about to be presented with a lot of information, and I think a lot of people are going to be in disbelief. You know, they're going to say, oh, no way, that's not possible. They're not going to be able to handle it. I think a lot of people are going to go crazy.
Yeah? So I've got to be honest with you. I don't think that if they just splashed on the front page of everything tomorrow that the world would go very bonkers over UFOs. Yeah, this is where I'm at in my belief system. This journey started for me that I woke up one day after something pretty traumatic personally and just realized that I didn't know what I believed. So I started really seeking. And then I started realizing that I had been handed a lot of prefabricated ideas. Sounded right, and everybody around me seems to go with them. But I got to be honest, when I sit down and think about it, I don't know that to be true, or I don't sense that, or I don't have that experience. So the concept of truth became very important to me. Like, what is the actual truth? My truth? We could all be standing in one room and witness the same thing and have 3 different truths. Right?
Correct.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John kind of thing. So for me, it just became a personal journey. It's just what is occurring in my life, and I'm seeking this truth. And we all wake up in life one day, but didn't ask to be born. Here we are. And we're very fortunate in the fact that all of our predecessors, all the generations, have done some pretty amazing things. Because by the numbers, you could have been born a human in 1922 and led a very different life.
Correct.
We kind of won the cosmic lottery, getting born, who we are, where we are in the year humanity has progressed to, right?
I agree.
We won the damn cosmic lottery. We could talk about that for a long time. But so here we are, and I want to know what the truth is, and I don't want the prefabricated things around me. I don't want anything handed to me. I don't want to regurgitate what others said. I love my research. I love my notes, and I want to really get to the bottom of this stuff. And so while I do believe that there's a shadow government, how could there not be? Mm-hmm. The whole history of the United States, there's been individual men with more money than the country. You don't think they're feeding that money into pockets to run shit? You don't think they're manipulating? Of fucking course they are. Yeah. There's nothing to debate. We're not even talking about it. It's a fact. And we see it now. You can see it on the History Channel. You can see how Carnegie developed and rose to power and manipulated and what he did, and the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds. Right. And it's in the fucking history books, so of course they're still doing it today. Nothing to talk about there. So we go searching for this truth, and as we're trying to get to it, it turns out that there's teams of people sitting around putting out disinformation. Like, there's rooms full of computers, and there's people out there putting out bullshit information.
Yeah.
To shake up the American people, but there's still a congruent storyline happening over the timeline of 2020. I punched my camera. Sorry, baby. What is it? What is it exactly? Why are the people so divided? Are you kidding me? We're back to a race war? Now, don't let me downplay anything. I'm not saying racism doesn't exist in America, but I don't think most of us have it in our hearts. I think that they make it look terrible on the news. I don't think America's as racist as they say. I'll pray for us. I hope not. Yeah. Maybe. But now we're at each other's throats, and maybe there's like white pride people coming out on the news, and some 17-year-old kid shoots a guy, and we're in the middle of this fucking pandemic to begin with, and then maybe a financial crisis, and they start talking about aliens. I had a meeting in my legitimate adult life about buying a building, and it wasn't a joke when the subject of aliens came up, because they might announce something on the news, and everybody goes and pulls their kids out of school and stays home for 3 months, and I can't pay a lease on $1 million building.
Right.
Did I just take UFO disclosure into consideration on the purchase of a building? What the fuck? Well, welcome to 2020, right? Everybody keeps saying it. So now here we are. We're looking at what we think is the truth, and you think what's about to happen in this financial reset is that either a subgroup of politicians or a shadow government has set up like a parallel government, you're saying, or a parallel financial system?
Correct. Yes.
So that when ours crashes, they can say, don't worry, we got it, it's fine. And
essentially.
Is that to protect the American people? Or are they trying to get more money out of us? Like, what's about to come out of that?
I think they're trying to give money back to the American people. Think about everything that Trump said about our taxes being fraudulent, unconstitutional, and how he wants to give it back to the people. There was even a press release on whitehouse.gov right at the end of the year when all of this stimulus stuff was happening, right when McConnell, vetoed that stipulation that Trump pretty much said.
So probably integral to this conversation, though, I should ask. So you think Trump is one of the good guys? He's on our side?
I believe so. I believe Trump truly is for the people, and he truly is about making America great. And now, you have your these things that have come out about Trump. Trump did this, Trump did that. But what is that? What if that has really been portrayed in a different narrative than what really took place? I asked myself that a lot, and for this billionaire to come in and pretty much, give up his lifestyle he lived. Think about how easy he had it. He didn't do anything. He was an old retired man playing golf, living life, looking at the beach, but he came in, he decided to give that up. He's lost billions of dollars.
I got to be honest, I disagree with you.
Okay.
I want you to continue what you're saying.
Yeah.
Please, but you really believe Donald Trump gave up a bunch of money, billions, you're saying, to come serve the American people?
I think so.
Okay, talk to me. He just didn't need more money, so he's like, fuck it, I want my face on coins, or he really came to serve us?
I really think he came to serve us. I think, he's
Why?
shown because he cares about the American people, and this does get a little biblical, and I say that because, for one. Trump he did not pray. He believed in God, but he didn't pray until he stepped into office. And then he started praying.
It's cool.
And, there's a lot of things that have happened. And Trump references Jesus a lot. Trump references God a lot. And he always says, this is biblical. What's happening is biblical.
Don't you think that's him buying votes, though? Do you actually think Donald Trump is a Christian?
I truly think he is now. We sin every single day. And, I'm not one to condemn anybody on their past or to judge anybody. That's left up to God. That's up,
Sure.
And we all come from sin essentially, and we all make mistakes. But I really do think that Trump's heart is with the American people right now, and he's fighting for us. And I say that because there's a lot of other stuff coming out, but there's apparently 600,000 indictments coming out against crimes against humanity, treason. And, I saw this original indictment back in February, and it's been consistently being added to, changed. And we can pull that up now, but I mean,
let's look at this because you brought this up when
we were. So look up, just go. You can probably even find this on Google. Google v. Parsa.
V Parsa?
Yeah, like Google versus Parsa.
And then Google
v. Parsa.
Brandon's two front teeth.
Yeah,
where
keep that in
they?
there, but Google v. Parsa. Google versus Parsa. Oh, that's it right there. Court listener.
Wait,
Go
Parsa
down.
v. State of New York?
No, court listener right there.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and these are, docket entries against just people being sued. Mark Zuckerberg. Now stop for a second. So the AI organization, Cyrus A. Parsa, Christians, victims of persecution, rape, torture, concentration camps, sex, human, and organ trafficking, organ harvesting in China, Hong Kong, America, and around the world, lawyers, judges, fallen data practitioners. So now you may ask yourself, okay, this is crazy. But let's take a step back. What other things did Trump put into order? Well, he put into order that he can pretty much see his assets around the entire world, and they become United States assets. Next, he also did something with how it's something about how when you can no longer count on the courts and our judicial system, how it defaults back to the military and how he can do military tribunal. And
but don't you think that's just sort of Trump's personality? The guy just likes to think he swings the big dick.
No.
He's like the fuck on his way out of office, and he's like, I could get the military to blah blah blah. Like, have we seen the truth in the news? Is it true that 0 complaints have been proven, or are we about to see some evidence?
I think we're about to see some evidence, man.
Wouldn't that have to happen like tomorrow?
It'd have to happen pretty soon, within the next week.
I personally don't think it's coming, but that's what's great about not having hardline opinions.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the hell out of everybody else's because you might have a lot of information I don't. So I'm leaning towards the president is not going to come up with anything.
So let's connect a couple dots. So, we see this this case right here. All of the people who are being, let's see, what's
sued. And let's clarify for people listening. So we're on courtlistener.com. We're looking at a docket for lawsuits rather. And this case is against, could you pronounce that for me, brother?
Parsa v. Google? Parsa versus Google?
Versus Google? Is that what it's called? It says amended complaint against
so that's going
Uyghurs.
Back. So
Highway,
Uyghurs,
Alibaba, Alphabet Inc., Amazon, Jeff Bezos. So they're trying to get these guys for what?
So we go up to the top, we can see what the description is about. So
victims of persecution, rape,
torture, concentration camps, sex, human and organ trafficking, organ harvesting in China, Hong Kong, America, and around the world. Lawyers, judges, fallen data practitioners, journalists.
Okay, when was this filed and in what court?
So this was filed December 16th, 2019, and as you see, it continues to get amended and added to.
Does it have more details?
Yeah, click download PDF and let's get flagged on a list somewhere. Definitely grab that. I want to see it. I love being flagged on a list, haha. I'm sure we are, right? In 100 places. But, I mean, it just sounds like somebody's trying to,
so scroll down just a
sue
bit.
the nefarious bad guys for being evil. Like, you just named all this shit.
So let's start right here with the actual document. Complaint: misuse of artificial intelligence, cybernetics, robotics, biometrics, bioengineering, 5G, quantum computing technology, endangering the human race with misuse of artificial intelligence technology. 3, transfer of AI weapon technology to China. 4, complementary and genocide China. Violation of Article 1 Genocide Convention. Violation of Article 2. We can continue on, and then you can see on the left side who the defendants are.
Okay, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to pause because this does look legitimate, and I do believe that these entities, in one way or another, result in basically slavery, in human trafficking.
Correct.
Them existing cause these things. We know about it. It's child labor. It's slave labor in China. We know it exists. But that said, I have to be fair. I don't know how the court system works. I don't know if this is a validated document, whether this was accepted in to be a court case, because technically, couldn't I just go file a lawsuit against Jeff Bezos and fill out all the paperwork to sue him for being a meanie head? You know what I mean? Like, couldn't I technically be like, I want to sue Jeff Bezos for building nuclear weapons, developing ray guns, and making bubble gum that tastes like foot odor? And I could go file that at a courthouse, right? Would that generate a document like this, and then somebody at the courthouse sees it and goes, get fucked, loon, denied? But we could put this on the internet and go, hey, look at that. He's being sued for all these things. Does that mean he did any of them? They did any of them? I believe they do, but what does this document definitely certify?
This document definitely certifies that there is a case with these plaintiffs and these defendants. Now, we can go through it and we can see the different attachments and the different exhibits that they've presented here, evidence essentially, and see exactly what is going on, the different amendments.
Okay, cool. No, this is super cool, man. The only reason that I'm playing devil's advocate to the information that you're presenting is to make sure that we're seeking truth on this, that we get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
It is just too easy these days to post something to the internet. Stuff gets chewed up, recycled, regurgitated, presented incorrectly, re-fucking memed, and people start to believe this stuff. I mean, I think it's insane that there are people that like Donald Trump so much, and I'm not some Donald Trump hater. I don't know the man, and I don't fucking care. But there are people that like him so much that they just stormed our Capitol building to go inside and wave a Trump flag. You don't know this man. You don't know what the truth is. You've never met this guy. He's never done anything for you. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He wouldn't shake your hand if you were there in front of him. That's facts. And you're going to storm the Capitol of the United States to wave a flag with his name on it? That scares me because people can get hypnotized, mesmerized, become fanboys. I don't know what the fuck, but that's weird to me. That's weird in the deepest sense. I'm all for like, hey, go John F. Kennedy or support people you believe in, but Donald Trump's pretty strange. Any way you slice it, that's fine. You want to like him. I don't have a problem with it, but you're going to storm our Capitol over a guy that doesn't give a shit about you. That worries me, bro.
See, I got to disagree with that because I think he does care about the American people.
Okay.
I think he does.
Okay, hit us with it, man. Tell me why.
You know, I think he does because if you take a step back and look at 2020, look at not even 2020, look at what he's done over his presidency, not what the fake news has portrayed him as, but
be specific. Tell us, what do you do?
The actions that he have done. So he eliminated payroll tax. We can go back to that video. He did it until December 31st, and then he said forever. So he's also been stating the storm is coming, the storm is coming. Dan Bongino, Dan Scavino, they're all posting about it, right? And you may, what is the storm? What is the storm they're talking about? Well, January 1st, the Storm Act just got announced. What is that? It's pretty much saying that Trump can take funds from anywhere, any three-letter agency, anything that's been dispersed anywhere, and reallocate that through FEMA for disasters, whether it's a human disaster, we just went through a disaster.
Hell yeah, we're in one
next,
for
and natural
lot
disasters,
of folks.
whatever it is, he can now allocate an excess amount of funds to whatever he deems necessary. So let's take a step back. Earlier we were talking a little bit about, you know, these assets that we've paid to Britain, the Vatican, being seized, and how he created this or signed this executive order stating that he can take control of these assets in other countries. Now, he didn't just walk in there, you know, head honcho, saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. No, what we didn't see portrayed on the news was the 212 countries that he went to, signing peace deals, taking pictures with all of them, shaking their hands, showing that he is for the people, he is for world peace. Now that's what Nasara and Jassara is about, and we kind of stepped into that a little bit.
So hold on. You're saying that Donald Trump, as acting president,
yes,
flew to 212 countries in the world and got some kind of peace deal signed, and that wasn't covered accurately in the news.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. How would we find that information? I got to imagine if 212 countries sign a fucking dinner receipt, we could find it easily, right? That's a big deal.
We can definitely find it.
Let's find this and let's talk about it, because here's the thing. I understand that Donald Trump has talked a lot about fake news, and I think the news is the fakest thing in existence.
I think
Tonight on Fox 11, nobody fucking talks like that. Why are you like that? Why are you even sitting like that? Hey, it's good to see you guys tonight. They talk like fucking John Wayne. It drives me nuts. Nobody communicates that way.
They all say the same thing.
I could just mute it and fast forward and go, oh, there's the 7 seconds I needed. The talking heads just slay me. But what I want to do is I want to beat up these subjects. I want to beat them down to a pulp. I want to see what's left over. What's the meat on the bones? What's really nitty gritty? What's going to stick that we think we could depend on for truth? I think there's a lot of information out there and a lot of people trying to shove truth down our throats.
Yeah.
And I'm real sick of the term truther. Here's all I want. I want to hear a thing and know whether it's real or not. And that sounds like such a simple idea, and it sounds cliche to say it, but I think everybody's fucking sick of just not knowing.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. And that's where, you know, I have not necessarily put my whole heart into believing, or, you know, I'm not going to die for QAnon, but that's where I've developed my sort of somewhat trust that I have for that intel. I take everything that they say with a grain of salt and verify it, you know, do the research myself, but it's proven time and time again to be true. The things that they have said have happened, and, you know, that's up to everybody else to do their own research, and we'll put links in the description. We'll put that in there.
Yeah, I'd like to get some juicy information out there, or let people hit it on a facet that they haven't seen it from before. I think that a lot of the same old conspiratorial information gets regurgitated. If I hear the word Roswell one more time, I'm going to gouge my fucking eardrums out. Like, I'm just so tired of it. There's so much going on. These people, these 500 people on paper are running the planet, and we're still running around worried about what color a fucking mailbox is out in the desert. And I believe in everything. I just feel like everybody's overly focused on the same old bullshit when there's this whole storyline unrolling in front of us that seems to be very important and have a clock on it. Like, what is this 180 days to divulge what you know about UFOs? Hey, I want to ask about, here's your money. Here's your money. Aren't you happy you got your money? We're going to talk about that. I think it's just kind of in there anyways. Here's your money. Here's your checks. Why? Why with the UFO shit? And here's the thing. Trump doesn't have 6 months. And if 180 days is a 6-month timeline on this really big storyline, I don't think Trump's in that anymore. Unless what you're saying is true. Like, do you think Trump seizes power? Do you think this guy fucking does a power grab? He tries to get military in here and like...
I think so.
You think he's going to try and keep the White House?
I think so. And I say that with...
Yikes.
Yeah. You know, that's,
like,
that's
you think
pretty
this
big.
I mean, that's
dude,
guns
that's
in the street shit, right?
Yeah, that's heavy, man. And that's why, you know, I do think Trump is after, you know, whether or not this, you know, they vote Biden to be president, I think what's going to come out...
I'm going to sneak past you, but I want
is,
to finish.
I think what's going to come out is Trump is going to say, hey, by the way, guys, I signed Nassara, and what that means in that bill is I'm commander-in-chief in this, or Nassara Jassara, pretty much meaning I'm commander-in-chief of the world right now. These are the countries that have signed on, and we're trying to do this peace deal. We're trying to do this great reset. We're going to forgive all this debt. And it's a joint thing. They can't do it just by
like
themselves.
You think the whole world is going to go, wow, we're kind of financially fucked if we don't forgive a bunch of debt.
Well, think about it. We all owe, we owe money
loans.
Everywhere. People owe, I mean, we need it back. Okay, so how do I say that?
Let's say what? Think about it for a second. Let me get him some batteries because then you get to run the screen so you can just jam through this stuff if you want.
All right. Yeah. So this General Michael Flynn was pardoned by Trump. Following
what were his crimes?
Events.
What were his crimes?
His crimes, I think it was something about, maybe it was the Russian probe into his campaign.
How do presidential pardons work? Do you guys know? I'm sure we can Google it. I felt like on the way out, the president was allowed to pardon a few people, up to 10 people, something like that. We should look it up. But I'm curious. So couldn't he only pardon these people if he is indeed leaving office, or is that not part of it? Do I have that wrong?
Say that one more time.
I thought the president could only pardon people as he left office.
I don't think that's true. I think that he...
Like the president can just pardon whoever he wants because he's president? I didn't think he had that kind of power. We should look up what the process is. But President Trump forgives Michael Flynn. What did Michael Flynn do? What was he in prison for that he got pardoned?
So, the presidential pardon arises from Article 2, Section 2 of the United States Constitution, which states that the president shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States except in cases of impeachment. So I don't think there's a number limit on that or when he can do it. I think it's just as long as he's president.
So the president can just pardon people. He has that power. That's part of the office of president.
Seems like today that he's granted full pardons to 15 individuals and commuted part of all the sentences to additional 5 individuals.
So I know one of the pardons he recently did included the names of 26 people, I believe, something like that. And that was just all at once.
What do you think that's fucking worth financially? Like, let's talk nitty gritty, okay?
I mean, if
there's banksters out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, definitely. These motherfuckers are running shit because they have unlimited money and you can get a lot of things done with unlimited money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you want to be the guy that makes it all the way to the seat of president because you can start handing out pardons. What is that worth to the financial mafia?
Really, though? What is it worth?
God damn. You got to be able to sell presidential pardons for a fuck ton of money or favors.
Yeah.
I think they're all dirty, so I think they're doing it. Anyway, so these 20 people he pardons or helps with their sentence.
Mm-hmm.
What was the connecting thread? I mean, anything?
Something that I picked up from that was Julian Assange, who you guys may or may not know, he was the founder of WikiLeaks. He dumped a lot of data incriminating the Clintons, incriminating a lot of people. And, you know, obviously a lot of it was classified. But the fact that that data was dumped out there and this guy, you know, was charged with this stuff because it came back on the deep state, and Trump pardoned him because I believe that Trump thinks that the people should know what the deep state are doing with these 500 people we've been talking about who run the country.
But do you believe that you get to be the president of the United States without being part of that system?
I think up until now, there was only a few presidents who tried to make the system work, and they were assassinated because of that. JFK.
I tend to agree with that. He could have been assassinated, they say, because he was going to divulge UFO information. I think he definitely could have been assassinated because he wanted to do away with the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And the ruling elite aren't fucking having that now, are they?
No.
They want to be in control of printing the American money.
Correct.
Not the government, not the people.
Correct.
So yeah, I think he could have been killed just based on that. There's 50 reasons an honest man would get killed in Washington, right?
Right.
Now, I'm not saying the Kennedys were honest. I mean, he was having an affair. He was fucking Marilyn Monroe. Like, we all know that. So it's like, you know, his morals were already questionable.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? But going back to your point with these guys, why do you think presidents would pardon this particular group of people? You think Trump's honest.
I think Trump's honest.
Why do you pardon these guys? Are they heroes?
I think that they are a part of something bigger that, you know, we just haven't seen on news. We haven't seen a lot of what's been going on. You know, we've seen everything that we've seen is portrayed to make Trump and QAnon look like conspiracy theorists, this crazy radical group.
Sure.
When in all reality, it's not. Anybody affiliated with QAnon or who follows it, like they don't do violent things. They are about peace. They are about love. They're about...
But it's really easy to smear somebody, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
You just do it in the name of Jesus, and Jesus is standing over there going, whoa, I didn't tell you to go kill anybody, right? But you just do it in the name of somebody, and it sticks.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. So, you know, they've essentially dropped bombs of intel and information about what has really been playing out. And so, you know, you can sort of look at it as like a sort of news to kind of follow back on to see what the truth is. And we'll step into that right now. Okay, so we're going to pause. So a lot of what I said earlier about like what QAnon is, I want to cut out, use that. And then I've already talked about some bits and pieces already. We'll stick them in here. I'm going to help him with the editing because this is like...
You want to organize
You tried to go a
information.
direction, I went another way. We kind of veered back, and so...
That's okay.
Anyway, so, you know, Trump, you know, pardoned Michael Flynn. And after this, Flynn changed his Twitter background to a saying that started on QAnon, WW1WGA. And that stands for Where We Go One, We Go All. And, you know, after he changed his Twitter background, they made this video pretty much saying that where we go one, we go all. So this is pretty much the allegiance. I supposedly...
Like, you think this is a ceremony and it just looks like they're, you know, a family around a campfire, but you think he's signaling this QAnon group and he's doing the pledge to them.
Correct, yeah.
Interesting. Okay, I'd like to see this.
Discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
Of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Where we go one, we go all.
Where we go one, we go all.
God bless America.
God bless America.
Let's pause this. Who was that group of people?
So this is Flynn, Michael Flynn, and this is Michael Flynn's family.
Okay, now he looked like he was reading that out of a book. Do you know what that prayer was, that pledge was?
I don't know exactly.
Okay, it's cool. We'll find it.
Probably somewhere on QAnon or Q drops.
It may look to me like he was reading it out of some kind of book, and maybe military folk get issued something like that at certain levels.
Yeah, definitely could be. Let's go ahead and search Michael Flynn Twitter background WW1.
So let me say this.
Actually, yeah, just Michael Flynn Twitter. Maybe it's still that. So just go to his Twitter and see what that looks like. General Flynn.
And do you know who General Flynn is? Like, do you know why he's an important person? I personally don't think I've had any exposure to who he is.
Is a retired United States Army lieutenant who was the 25th United States National Security Advisor for the first 22 days of the Trump administration until his resignation. Flynn's military career included a key role in shaping the U.S.
Well, shaping the U.S. is a pretty broad term. He was a lieutenant general, but 22 days of the Trump administration, then what? He got pardoned, so what? He was in there for 22 days, he went to jail? Were the crimes against him? Let me say this. I'm interested in two things in my life.
Mm-hmm.
The truth and what people believe. Because the truth might not be something I could answer for 6 months. Your opinion's in front of me now.
Right.
And you might have it right. You got a 50-50 shot at having it right. And so I value everybody's opinion. I don't know that I believe or disbelieve any of this information because it's new to me. And I like that it's new and I like looking this up live time. But to just lay it out for folks, to just unpack it, we are in like these crucial few days until Trump's supposed to be out of office. I mean, today's the 6th.
Yes.
20th is supposed to be inauguration. Do I have that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever is supposedly going to happen would have to happen in 2 weeks.
Yeah, within these next 2 weeks.
Well, when you see a storming of the Capitol, that seems possible. But then when you look up that storming of said Capitol, it was more like a cakewalk. We should
and
look
you know,
because
actually,
we've been in a soundproof studio for 4 hours. We should look and see what happened. Last I saw,
you know what? And I actually saw this live. We actually saw that live, and when it happened, we actually rewinded it and listened to it again to make sure we heard it right, because we saw nothing of the sort. What we saw were people casting out a flag, draping it down across this big platform,
right?
And people walking around. There was no running. There was no shouting. If you see shots fired anywhere, what do people do? They go crazy. They yell. They scream. They run.
Yeah, I didn't see that either.
I
It's
didn't
interesting
see it
to
at
say.
all. And all of a sudden you hear, yeah, we're just getting breaking news that there were shots fired at the Capitol. And it cuts back to the Capitol, and all you see is nothing but people walking around, waving their flags, being peaceful. So let's
go to it
see
live.
if we can
Let's see
find
what's
that.
going on.
So
I mean, I was watching it live in the background while I was working on a design, and I was listening to music otherwise, but I was watching the feed.
Yeah, so go ahead.
It was pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
You know? So again, these are all storyboards being presented to us. If you were standing there, I have a feeling there'd be a lot of nuances that you're not getting from whatever ABC shows you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the real feeling is, but then you have to wonder how much of it is staged.
Right.
When you have billions of dollars, you pay people to drop bricks off at riots. You do shit like that because you fucking can.
Right, and see, that
unlimited
was
money gets things done, right?
Yeah, and we going back to the bricks and that sort of thing, like they tied that back to George Soros, didn't they? Say that George Soros was funded by Antifa and
Antifa's something else I don't understand that we could unpack. I don't understand what that is. I mean, we haven't had a chance to digest and catch up. It's always something different, 700 times more contagious, a new fucking strain, a crisis. Like we don't have a chance to digest anything as we go, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to go too far back into the past and trying to catch up, but why does it feel important to you that this general was allied with QAnon? Like, why did that feel good to you?
Well, it gave some sort of confirmation that there is something bigger going on, that QAnon is real,
exist, right.
that it does
There it
exist, and that it, is part of Trump's administration. And,
Cool. Cool.
Trump pardoned him. He got accused. Michael Flynn was accused of doing. Let's pause. Let's figure out his crimes. What was he charged with?
No, look it up. See, I don't understand who these players are, and I don't.
So he
have
had
any reason
pled
to trust any of
guilty
them.
to lying to the FBI about contacts with Russia's ambassador to the U.S. Flynn had been seeking to withdraw his guilty plea. The Justice Department's decision also follows his criticism of the case by President Trump and his supporters. Flynn, a retired Army 3-star lieutenant general, left the White House in February 2017, just weeks after Mr. Trump was sworn in.
Left. It wasn't like he was arrested or something. That's not how the story plays out.
Correct. He put out a resignation, and who knows why. We haven't found that out yet.
Okay.
But this is
why I don't put too much stock in people in administrations. It's real easy to look up the fact that Dick Cheney and Halliburton basically lapped up the leftovers of the Iraq war, but was an integral part of it from the beginning. We were going to go blow up other people's places and then charge them to rebuild it. I'm super duper paraphrasing, but fuck you, look it up. Halliburton was an evil entity. Dick Cheney is a piece of human. I don't want to say things like that. I try not to be negative that way, but these people are psychopaths. I mean, there's some sick shit always going on. We're always hearing about another MK Ultra, and it always comes out in vast details, and it's sickening. But it's like, Well, we did it then, but, you know, we're not doing it now. Yeah, fucking of course you are, right? So I don't trust these people because maybe this guy is just this administration's Dick Cheney. Like, why do I care if he likes QAnon? And this is where I'm trying to get to the base storyline. Like, you and this group of people, or is this your personal opinion? Like, whose opinion is it that in the next 2 weeks, because that's the only timeline we've got, that there's going to be some kind of, like, seize for power or a giant financial shift? Right? Like, you think Trump's going to stay in power. Is that the belief of QAnon? Is that the belief of, like, a group that you're in? Or is this you having done this research, you think that's what's about to happen?
This is me doing the research, and that's what
great.
I think is going to happen.
Okay, so you think Trump stays president?
I think that he may or may not have the title president, but I know that it
Like,
may
you
be
think
commander-in-chief. He may be higher than president because of what just happened. The United States is no longer a corporation. We're a republic now, like we were meant to be.
How did that happen? When did that happen?
That happened the middle of last year. I do want to say the middle of last year.
Who makes that decision? How does that happen? Is this the Supreme Court?
Well, maybe it's the Supreme Court. I know that there was something signed that Trump had a part in that dismantled the corporation of the United States and dismantled the corporation of the Federal Reserve registered in Puerto Rico. Why is that? In Puerto Rico, there's no taxes.
Right.
So why is our Federal Reserve registered in Puerto Rico? Why is it a corporation?
Why does the Federal Reserve exist at all?
Yeah, why does it exist?
So that very few people can control the money system. So that bankers can control everything.
Hit it on the head.
I mean, here's the thing. I think it's been established everybody has their price. So let's just get real. There are people on the planet with unlimited money.
Yeah.
And they buy all the cars and they fuck all the people that they want and they do all the drugs and they get bored. Talk to lotto winners. You don't need unlimited money. Talk to guys with $100 million. Watch the documentaries. They get fucking bored and they do stupid shit.
Yep.
These people get bored and they start playing Risk with the planet. They realize they control things like a country's banking system and they start playing toy soldiers.
Yeah.
Let's push these troops over here and hey, I kind of wanted that and you know, we could do something with this country's resources here. Right? I mean, they're just Napoleon. They're just Caesar. It's always been this way. And that's what they're doing. Who are these guys? What do they mean to us? Is Trump about to invent somehow he's going to seize power and use our military might and our people are going to turn on themselves and he's going to stay there and create a position that doesn't exist? Is that, I mean, all that's possible?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I don't rule out anything. I have no idea how this stuff works because I don't think anybody does unless you're behind those closed doors. I don't think any of us have any idea. We could guess all day long. We could definitely have, you know, definite opinions about definite truth. I don't fucking think so. I think there are closed doors, and if you ain't on the other side of it, you don't know. What's Carlin's line? It's a big club and you ain't in it. I think it's that. So I don't think it fucking matters how much we guess, but I do think guys like you that really do the research, that dig, that brush up against or delve into the dark web, like, I think you come across some genuine information.
Yeah.
I respect your belief. It's giant, though. But I'm saying that on the day that the American Capitol was stormed by a bunch of guys with flags that said Trump. So anything's possible.
Right.
And I don't mean to laugh at that. It just seems outlandish that our Capitol could get stormed at all. Maybe it's because it wasn't really, like, stormed. And maybe I'm misunderstanding. I'd still like to see it live. Can we throw that back up?
Yeah, let's
Can we just jump on a news feed and see what's going on?
Yeah.
Last time I saw people were standing around going, Trump, and it's...
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't look like people got paid
They
to me,
gave
but-
it a complete different narrative than what really happened. So
I
Capitol
mean, they
live
still
stream.
kind of did, though. Like,
You know what? Let's go.
I saw a guy carrying a podium.
Not even do that. Type in right side broadcasting. So this is where...
That's the shit that pisses me off. This is a historic moment, and you're supposed to have the wherewithal to understand what's going on if you're going to storm the United States Capitol, and then you're going to steal a podium on national TV, you janky fuck. God dang, I hope somebody punches that guy in the mouth. Like, what? Thanks for being part of the movement.
Senate in recess. So maybe...
Jeez.
5 hours ago, 6 hours
Just
ago.
click anything that says live. I just want to see if there's still people wandering around inside our Capitol. It looks like a bunch of nonsense to me. So has it been cleared out now?
No, so this was when they were on lockdown.
Oh, you got to mute that, please.
Over there, if you just now join us, welcome.
You mute this one, bro.
Glenn, correspond.
So there was a part they had a big flag and they were draping it down, and right around that time is whenever they said.
Okay, does this say it's live now? No, that's 4:11 their time.
No, so this was when.
This was 3 p.m.
This is right here. This is when they were talking about it.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. You're showing that they're talking about shots fired and people are just walking around casually.
Yeah.
Was this live at the time, or could it have just been earlier footage? That's all the footage they had.
No, this was. I watched this live when they were saying. So this is where they're storming the Capitol. My mouse on that side. Oh no.
No, I see it down there.
There it is.
Okay. But so see, you typed in right side broadcasting, and that's cool because we're seeing this from that perspective you talked about earlier where nobody has heard shots fired, nobody's panicking. And you would think in today's climate, you'd be super panicked. So that was a really nice insight on your part. I like that observation. But now let's go to it live and see like what's going on. Because I imagine they just send in some troops and just flush everybody the hell out of there, right?
Joint session. So this is inside.
It's time to stop trying to overturn the will of the people and get back to working on their behalf.
So they kicked everybody out. I mean, it's back to business as usual. Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah, they had a curfew, I think.
Yeah, at 6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 p.m. So I want to.
I just don't get it. Like, and please tell me if I'm missing something because I don't want to laugh if there's so much more depth to it. But it's like you stormed the Capitol and then maybe I just missed it. I didn't see any kind of statement. Like, what the fuck are you doing here? What are you saying? What did you accomplish? What did this lead to? And they just kind of come kick your ass out of there and go right back to business as usual. Like, what are these protests accomplishing? Because I believe in so many of the things that I hear them fighting for, but I don't see how anything's getting done. It just seems to boil down to everybody gets irritated with a bunch of looting and stuff. And maybe that's orchestrated too. Maybe like the good people of the world are out there genuinely protesting and these ruling elite scum send a bunch of staged actors down there, right, that we hear about on the news. What do they call it? Trauma actors.
Yeah. And
they send these guys down there to brick a bunch of windows and steal backpacks and Nikes, and it looks like everybody's a piece of shit.
Right.
Totally. They're trying to take some of the momentum out of the tsunami, right? That could be happening, or it could be that when you get enough humans together, there's a few scumbags and they start bricking windows and stealing Nikes. I don't know what any of it means. And that's why I'm chasing the truth of it so desperately. I respect your opinion, but this is where it's going to get exciting. This has to unfold in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it does.
And that gives us an opportunity to post this episode, get some people involved, get some feedback, learn some more from the audience, and then reevaluate. Look again, what did happen? Where did this go?
Yeah.
You know, I am really interested in what you have to say because I subscribe to a particular belief system of what's going on. I have to say it's very malleable, though.
Okay.
I think all of us just believe what we can, meaning it's based on our experiences, right? It's why I don't like the idea of organized religion much, because everything's very prefabricated in a tidy little package and just, unwrap that and go find God.
Yeah.
Bothers me. It seems lazy. There's not a lot of seeking. There's just like cyclical reasoning. This is the truth because it tells me the truth, therefore I believe it, therefore it's the truth. It just gets very cyclical and weird for me. So we seek, we look for this stuff. That's why guys like you and I do this research. In my research, I have arrived at the opinion that all of it, is what it's always been. Caesar, bread in circuses, distractions for the people. Because if I'm one guy and I want to rule 99 people, I got to orchestrate a pretty good show, or maybe somebody gets pissed I'm richer than him and cuts my fucking throat, right?
Yeah.
That's why a standing military. That's why a militarized police force. If I'm 500 people and I want to run 7.5 billion, I got to put on a lot of circuses and hand out a lot of bread, and that's what I believe is going on. It's the same storyline it's always been, but now, in these new modern times, it seems like we're about to hear that alien life has just absolutely been real the entire time. It's all true. They've known about it, etc.
Yeah.
It seems like that's what this is coming down to. I personally, currently, and this could change at any time, but I currently subscribe, based on the information I know, to the beliefs that probably this all has to do with the UFO agenda. That probably whatever that is the baseline narrative to all of this that it all boils down to. They keep leaking this epic information about UFOs and alien life. This should be all anybody's talking about. And then they play the same old game they've laid out on paper from PR firms since the 1940s in government documents that all the conspiracy guys we've all seen, and a lot of them have been validated, that say this is to break down the American system. Nobody can believe in anything. Get rid of the family so we can get rid of family values. Keep people out of organized groups. What can't we do right now? We can't meet in fucking big groups. Well, how are you going to have a protest? Well, they did have protests, but what they're doing is breaking down democracy, breaking down the belief system, right? You're born a guy, you want to be a girl, you can be whatever you want, everybody can do whatever they want, everybody can march in the street, they can tell us to stay home, Gavin Newsom, and then go to fucking restaurants. Like, everybody can do everything. And they let it fly. Remember when the cops were instructed to let the looters in? They're trying to show the American people on this network of mainstream news that nothing works, don't have faith in anything, we're all back at each other's throats, race riots. They're trying to break down our entire country. Why? Because then they can do whatever they want with it. If you try and take a nice country away from people, they're going to go, wait a minute, that's our fucking country. We built that. I worked for that. If you break it and smash it and make it a piece of garbage and then take it away from people, they're like, whatever, I didn't fucking want it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the feeling that everybody has right now? Like they're breaking our toys?
Pretty much, yeah.
And we're supposed to be fighting each other? I don't want to fight other Americans, right? We could sit in a room and have conversations. I go, Aiden, what do you believe? And he's like, I believe that cats rule humanity from the moon. And I could be like, well, you're fucking loony, but I respect that. And we just have this conversation. At no point am I going to be like, hey, bro, fucking dude's talking about cats on the moon. You want to shoot this motherfucker? I don't want to stab anybody. I don't want to take over.
Right.
People don't go to war. Rulers do. I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to fight anybody. The Irish are different than me. That doesn't make me want to stab them. Like, I don't know how to explain that people don't go to war. Rulers do. You and I don't want to fight a war.
No.
But the rulers will step in and make us think we do. They'll make us think that, like, Black Lives Matters is supposed to fight these people. We're supposed to be against each other. And I know some people out there in the world have those hardline beliefs, but I think this is all orchestrated. I don't think your average human walks around with this much hate in their heart. And I think that it's being misconstrued what people's genuine intentions are, too. I'll bet you standing in that crowd, the energy to those protests was very different than what was on the news. I got to imagine. I've heard. You know, I got buddies in different places, and they've talked about participating. But so my point is, I think that all of this is so that they can divulge the information that they need to about whatever this UFO agenda is. And I've been saying that for a long time, as crazy as it sounds. But what would be bigger news? That we're not alone in the universe. We get new truths and new technology. We're a technocratic society. What's bigger news than that? So I think that right now they're not really halting it. They're trying to figure out how to productize it.
Yeah.
They're trying to get all the Owen Cornings of the world to make all the fiber optics from scratch that they can, and they want to productize the shit out of it. And they're going to sell Space Force jackets, and you're going to get a mug that's like, I'm a Guardian. And like, they're going to productize the fuck out of humanity because that's what they do. But at the end of the day, I think that's what this is all about. I don't think this has to do with like the U.S. government structure and Israel, and I think it's all this UFO agenda because nothing would be bigger news. And I believe that was validated when they went, oh, here's your stimulus checks, and by the way, everybody has to tell everything about UFOs.
Yeah.
God damn, that was a pretty big sentence.
Right.
Whoa, Micro Machines, like slow down. That was a fucking bombshell, right?
Right.
But they said it. They did it. It's true. And the Department of Defense keeps coming out and talking about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
It cost a lot of money to put these news reports out. They don't just talk about it. They release information very, very intentionally, like every little prop in a movie set. They just keep talking about UFOs.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's what it all boils down to. They know something, and it's all getting ready to come out. And I think 6 months from now, on that 180-day mark, we're going to get not much. But I do think it's coming.
Yeah. No, I definitely see where you're coming from, man. I mean, even with the CIA declassifying it, it's been declassified already. You know, the proof is out there, but now it's just putting a narrative together. What kind of narrative are they going to say? Are they going to say that these extraterrestrial are on our side? Are they going to say that they're against us? Are they going to say that, oh, now we have to join forces all together?
So let me tell you my theory.
Fight this and protect each other. You know, what is the narrative that they're going to try to push?
I'm not going to worry about the nitty gritty on this one. I'm just going to roll it out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have built a financial structure globally that doesn't make any sense. And I think it's why students, when they go into finance and they're studying, particularly in advanced finance, by my understanding, I didn't take those courses, but I've even seen some documentaries. Noam Chomsky references it, maybe in Requiem for an American Dream. These people go, wait a minute, our financial system can't work like this. This wouldn't work. And they have to like beat sense out of these students and be like, we know it doesn't work. We know it's fiat currency, and we know that it can't grow forever. And we know that the interest goes no place, and we're creating money out of thin air, but like, we're doing that. And students are like, but this is fucking suicidal. This can't be the way that we're living. And they're like, yeah, that's happening. Fractional reserve banking and inventing money and the interest rates. Yeah, it's all, yeah, it's a giant bubble. Yes. And I think people are freaked the fuck out. And then they just learn to operate inside the system. They just ignore the stress. They have a gun pointed at their fucking head financially every day, but like, you just got to eat your oatmeal and tie your shoes. You know what I mean? So that's why it's here. But maybe we have come to the end of it. I heard that there's no restart, that there's no jump start for our economy if it stalls. That everything has to become corporate, and every corporation has to eternally grow, and everything has to gobble up until there's, one fucking entity in existence. That like financial entropy that seems to be happening in these people's minds when they describe it, that maybe that has happened. And here's the deal. What do we always use to pull ourselves out of depressions? We always traditionally use war. The most profitable thing we do as humanity in the structure we've built is war. As fucking nauseating as that is, the most profitable thing human beings do anywhere on earth is war. And we're really good at it. And we make a lot of money on that oil and that steel and that raw this and that. And we draw those dollars out, right? But think of the human collateral, think of the cost. We know how gut-wrenching it is. But we're to a point where maybe the financial crisis genuinely is too bad. War would pull us out, but we can't point guns at each other because of mutually assured destruction. So if we can't fight each other, but we got to go to war, where could we point our guns without ruining the globe? We could point them in the sky. So you start leaking a bunch of information that we're not alone in the universe. I know that sounds huge, but they're kind of starting, and I think this will all roll out and we'll be vindicated. You say that there's aliens, and then you say that they're aggressive and that they're evil aliens and that we got to fight them. And we're going to spend a shit ton of money paying all my friends in the defense industry for steel and oil and jets and fucking ray guns. And we're going to gobble up all those trillions. But what it's going to do is send us into war mode and pull us out. We don't have to point the guns at China and get killed. We don't have to point the guns at Russia and get blown up. We point them at the aliens because they're evil and mean. Pulls us out of this depression. I think this is their plan B. I think it's fuck, we got to jumpstart the entire American economy. California alone is like the 5th largest economy on the planet, right? Something like that. You got to jumpstart that battle cruiser. I think this is a plan B.
It very well could be.
So when you say financial reset, the reason I wanted you on the show so bad is I don't think you're wrong. I think we're both looking in a window of the same house, seeing a different room.
I think so. I think you're absolutely right.
I hope that all the conspiratorial-minded people after this episode go look up all the information that there is on this supposed UFO threat. And let me give some specifics. Werner von Braun that came over here, Project Paperclip, yada, yada, cliche to talk about. He supposedly said on his deathbed that there was going to be a war on terror. And, we went through the 90s, we saw it. That then there was going to be a war with aliens. There was going to be a supposed alien threat, but it wasn't true. His aide wrote the book. Everybody look it up. I'm not, I'm paraphrasing here. The second thing I think that happened was Dr. Stephen Greer. If you buy his narrative with MUFON, with him working with these defense guys, and they had the hearings that they had, and they published all this information, I think there's a good chance that this has to do with like the energy industry on the planet. Everything that humans do, making dollars, would be affected by technology way more advanced than ours.
Yeah. So what happens when that technology comes out? What happens to oil? What happens to how we're getting energy right now? I think apparently there's already, there's essentially free energy that were
0 point energy,
yeah,
Tesla stuff, right?
yeah. And
so I believe that, and let me say, I want to hear what you have to say about it, but let me just say that while I think it is true that exists, and I do think it is fucked up to keep that from humanity, and I'd never make that play, I do think there's such a thing as looking at how much of our financial structure as a country is based on petroleum products and not wanting to just pull that Band-Aid, you know? Let's maybe unwrap that bandage slowly.
Yeah.
Sure, they get the benefit of milking it for all it's worth. Gas, oil, tires, etc. We get it. Yeah, I think that maybe there's both good and bad reasons not to roll that out. What do you think they're going to do with the technology? Like, you started to say something about petroleum. Like, you think it all goes away overnight?
I don't think it goes away all overnight, but I think that they are going to come out and talk about how energy is free, how it was meant to be free, what happened with Nikola Tesla, back in the 1900s, and where things took a complete 180-degree turn, and that's why we are where we are today with the problems we have today.
Okay. So you still believe, and I'm not saying this is going to change for it, I didn't mean to phrase it that way, but you believe currently that what we're going through is just normal human problems, that what we see on the news, of course, is not the whole truth, because that's not the way they even try to present the information, but that maybe some of the stuff going on is legitimate, that like Donald Trump is a patriot. He wants to help us. Would you still believe that if he seized power in the U.S.?
Yeah, I would, because who really has power in the U.S. right now? Look at the media companies. Look at the image that they're portraying look at everything that they've portrayed. Trump, coronavirus, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. Just look at how they've portrayed everything. And these apparent peace deals that Trump is signing and putting into play, why have we not heard anything about it unless we scroll back through Trump's Twitter and see things about the peace deal? Unless we scroll back and look at Secretary Pompeo and look at the peace deals that he signed, the pictures of him in Israel, the picture of him shaking the hand of the prime minister, talking about peace. So, But
what kind of peace deal? Like, what are you talking about? New World Order, one government stuff? Like, what's a peace deal between 214 countries? And I say it like that, excuse me, because I saw, again, no notes in front of me, but I believe this morning on the news, it was Iran that just went 20% above what they were supposed to have in enriched uranium, and that's an aggressive play.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have this. You're announcing you fucking have it.
What happened?
That's this one, right?
Yeah.
That's like, right, okay, we know what you're saying. Okay, fuck us. What? That's an aggressive play, but they've been pretty open about it. It was because their nuclear scientist was killed, and then we bombed a general with a drone strike. He was killed. There was even some phone call that came in that could have been staged, but they threatened some strike on the U.S. today, and so far nothing. They were going to fly a plane into a building, 9/11 style. There was a voice-changing phone call. Yeah, you look it up on regular news. You can see it. But so, I mean, you believe so strongly in Donald Trump, and I am in no way trying to disregard this opinion, make fun of it, anything. You believe so strongly that if the man used our military to seize power and continue on in like a Putin-esque sense, you're good with that because you believe he's the right choice.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do you mind telling people, why do you feel so strongly about that? I'm genuinely curious. Like, really, in your heart, why do you feel so strongly about it?
So I feel pretty strongly about that because 4 years ago, I could care less what happened in politics. I didn't care what the left was doing. I wasn't a Republican. I wasn't a Democrat. I wasn't a liberal. I wasn't a conservative.
You were 21?
I was 21 years old, and what I cared about was what I had in front of me, what was going to happen, and what I was, frankly doing with my business. That was the year I started my business. I could care less about politics. Now, when I got
involved, world-class web developer right here, folks.
Where I got into politics was the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020. And, that's when, we got hit with this pandemic, this coronavirus, all of this. And,
so you think it was like that fear response?
Yeah, it was sort of somewhat of a fear.
Shit, we better start paying attention because now there's important information on the news, right?
Correct. So, they, put this fear into the American people. And, it was so bad, people, were freaking out. They were hoarding toilet paper. They were hoarding, meat. They were hoarding everything.
Oh, yeah.
And, not that that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to be prepared. But you saw what happened.
It was a shock to the system of our resources.
Yeah, maybe it was a test. Maybe it was, can we really scare the entire country or the whole world into going crazy? Can we put fear in all of them and make them cover up and wear a mask? Now, that's a whole nother conversation itself, but wearing that mask is actually worse for you. You know what? Let's take that. Let's not even talk about that.
I want to talk about the mask briefly, if you don't mind, because there are aspects to it I didn't consider in the beginning, right? It sort of dehumanizes us. I have noticed at stores, people can't tell I'm smiling at them. And you know, right now, I'm not smiling much at people anyway because of the whole tooth mishap where they pulled the wrong one and I'm missing teeth out of my smile, right? That's going to get corrected, and I'll probably talk about it every show because it's embarrassing. But I'm not smiling at people much anyway, so I like the mask. I'm like, hey, nobody can even tell I have this thing going on for a little bit, right? But then I realized nobody can tell. I'm like, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that was pretty funny. Or someone goes, how's your day? And I get to warmly smile at someone because I appreciate them asking. And be like, great, how was your day, right? People don't get that anymore, right? And part of the reason that I think it's so easy for us to do things like, and I'm not weighing in on that cop that shot that gentleman in the back 7 times.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know the ins and outs of all this stuff. I don't know what to believe, so I'm not commenting on it, but I have to be pretty scared of somebody to think they're such a threat to me that with their back turned, even if I think they're armed, then I'm going to shoot them 7 times? Again, I don't know the ins and outs of that story because I don't know what to believe, but I feel like you have to fear something pretty bad to do that.
Correct.
Why do we fear each other so much? Right? I got to tell you,
question.
when these like essentially race riots were going on, and this is coming from me, I was a kid in Long Beach when the LA riots happened. They burned the DMV down at the end of my street, Cedar Avenue, Long Beach. Look it up. I was there. My brother had a house in Compton at the time. I've been through what I would consider race riots. My dad got me an Uzi at 13. We were terrified. This was our pandemic, and it was burning at the end of our street. This is real deal. It was the whole thing with the truck driver that beat that fella, and bless him. But my point is, I'm seeing these like race riots that are supposed to be happening, and then I go out the street and I have plenty of friends of different ethnicities, and we're all just like, what up? Hi. Everything's fine. Okay, so outside of my circle of friends, I have clients of every ethnicity. It was like, how are you today? There was no fucking race riot.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to downplay that there is tension between folks, but everything looks so doom and gloom. Everything's so shook up. That's what you would do if you wanted to build a system, rebuild a system. You tear it down first. You just bring it down to the foundation. It feels like they're shaking America down to the foundation. You feel like Trump's going to save us.
I feel like Trump's going to save us.
How would he do that? Hit me, because I don't know what the details would be. Like, how would Donald Trump save America?
I think how he would save America, one, these people who have committed crimes against humanity, treason, I think it starts with putting them away first. So what does that mean? Where do they go?
That we won't have anybody to vote for next year?
Well, where do they go? Guantanamo Bay? So what has Trump been doing over the past 5 years at Guantanamo Bay?
I mean, we built Dubai. That's an artificial island. Can we build an artificial hell for like attorneys, lawyers? I'm just kidding. I love you guys. And definitely the high-end politicians, these elite, they'll never get caught. Don't you think the Clintons are probably career criminals? Don't you think that's probably been proven?
Yeah.
What jail time? What court case?
Right.
Everything could get dismissed all day long.
Right.
So,
but up until Trump. So what happened? So Trump, okay, so let's pause right there. Military tribunal is what I need to.
what's military tribunal?
So a military tribunal in the United States are military courts designed to try members of enemy forces during wartime, operating outside the scope of conventional criminal and civil proceedings. The judges are military officers and fulfill role of jurors. Military tribunals are distinct from courts martial. So what does that mean? That is something that's tried higher than the judicial system that we call law and order right now, right? So what happens there? Trump stated what happens when we can't trust our judicial system and our courts. We resort back to the military. Now, Trump is commander-in-chief of the military, correct? So he has full control of the military.
So if he can prove the system doesn't work, he can declare
So if he can prove the system doesn't work, what would he have to need? He would need a judge on his side that can file these executive, he would need a judge on his side that can issue indictments for the whole United States, right?
Okay.
So
This is juicy, man.
yeah, and
So how does that play out? Like you're saying.
So this judge, there's a specific state that it authorizes this guy to execute these indictments to the elite, to the
So you're saying that there is a gentleman who is a current judge.
yes,
And we don't have all that many judges proportionally in America. So this is a name brand person.
correct.
And this person is allowed to bring indictments against people like, in our talks before, you mentioned Nancy Pelosi.
Nancy Pelosi, the Clintons, Adam Schiff.
Boom, he can
these
bring 'em.
big names. Even if it's Pence.
Does it have to
whoever.
be emergency times?
It does not have to be emergency.
He
times.
doesn't have to declare shit. He just uses this loophole. Now,
Not a loophole. It's set up for this state to have this power, and this.
have we heard about it yet? Or are we about to hear about it?
Yeah, we've heard about it already. It's just been not put
Overshadowed.
on- Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So what do you think? Let's get specific, and nobody's going to judge you if you're wrong. We're all here to learn. And I have lots of wild ideas myself that I'm chomping at the bit to get to the point in life where I find out if they're real or not, true or not, etc. Lay it out in as many sentences as you need. What do you think is going to unfold over the next couple of days? Specifically, how do you think Trump takes power, and then what does that look like? You have civil fucking war, guns in the street?
I don't think so. I think a lot of the bad people have already been, quote unquote, scooped up, put away.
Okay, but
and
let
are
me be
being
honest.
held in
Nancy
Gitmo.
Pelosi just got reelected. You're saying that's getting yanked out from under her in some court case?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, go
She's
ahead.
being tried for crimes against humanity and treason. And
I mean, her haircut's not that bad. I'm sorry, that was terrible, but I had to. It's funny, the whole hair salon story with her, but please go ahead.
so, a part of what Trump did early 2020 was he appointed a ton of new judges. Now, one of these judges, I believe,
What are you reaching for? Like, what do you think he did?
it's the judge, his name, and what he had, like how he has the power to issue these indictments. And
While you're looking that up, let me say that no matter what we arrive at in today's conversation, it really fascinates me right now how polarized people are and how opinionated people are and doing the research. Like, I gotta be honest, dude. I don't think 2 years ago, if you were this exact same person minus the information you now have, I don't think you'd be doing this research. I don't think we were so charged up. And I
don't
think it's
so either.
that fight or flight response of a fucking pandemic, right? When this thing started, we didn't know it wasn't the Black Plague. Everyone keeps saying that. We didn't know it was the plague. Who cares if they keep saying it? We didn't know if it was the plague. I mean, I stayed in my house for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm cool with dying, man. My soul's in order, I hope, but I didn't want to die like I was hearing people died, right? We were all
Right.
scared in the beginning. We had misinformation or we didn't know yet. So now here we are right at this point, and this is even maybe unfolding as we're having this conversation because we're not watching live television. It looked to me like it's already been dissipated and calmed, but lay it out for people. What do you think happens in the next 2 weeks? And then we'll come back and touch base after some things have unfolded and see how our trajectories were. How accurately did we amateurs predict, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm nobody in this community. I absorb a lot of information. I could regurgitate a lot of it. I believe half of it. I'm nobody to predict this kind of stuff. But here you sit with all this research you did. You sent me all these great links to the CIA website. You name dropped. You had specific articles. All stuff that we're going to post. Poor Aiden gets homework. Is that camera doing something?
No, that one did it recently, but the memory filled up on that one, so I quickly changed the other one.
Card.
I think I forgot to delete.
I got
But
you.
this one just filled up.
Well, we got extra cards in the desk, man. Let's open it up. There should
Do
be.
you have a fourth one?
No, we have 3.
Three. Already, the third one's in there.
So 1 filled, second's in there. That one's done.
Yeah.
Can we reuse one of them?
I'll work on that right now.
I don't think we have a 4th. You could check the desk, man. There's some fun stuff in there. I mean, you found a psilocybin chocolate bar. Who knows what you might find in there? So my camera can't record. It's currently on Vincent. And that's okay, man. I don't really like my face being on this show anyway, so I don't care. But I guess I got to wrap this thing up on camera, you know?
I think this is the one that's off, right?
That's the one on
Okay.
me. So you're good. And don't get me wrong, I'm perfectly happy with people looking at your handsome mug and just hearing me wrap the show up. But I think it'd feel funny, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be like, where the fuck did the host go? I'm like, so, all right, guys, peace. Like, mock mic drop. You can't see me. Right.
Yeah, man. And, even if we have to tomorrow reshoot some clips, you and I, where we can hit things on the head. Like I said, dude, my phone, I destroyed it yesterday on accident.
I recently fucking annihilated mine, I found out.
And, yeah, dude, I had an entire notes. I had the like in order of how we were gonna hit it, and like,
bro, it's okay because look, man, honestly, I know we say things like we're gonna pause, we're gonna edit this, and that's fine. We'll do plenty of that, but it's the energy around this thing. It's the fact that we live in these frantic times where people that would never normally do it are doing this research, and we can't quite organize our thoughts, and we can't quite string it all together. And my personal belief system says that that's on purpose. They don't ever want us to figure out what's really going on, because then we could organize and make change.
Right.
We could affect change if we knew what the truth was and got enough of us together that believed something and did it the right way. So they got to make it look like that never works. They got to keep us from getting together. We're not people anymore. We don't smile at each other. We can't meet in groups. Let's tear the churches down. Let's tear the family down. All that nonsense. I think it's happening right now. We've had it in writing since either the 40s or 60s. A long time, plenty of time to address it. We've known this meteor was coming.
Yep.
Here it is, and I think that it is nothing less than fascinating that you've done all this research as just an average guy. Did you think of yourself as a prepper last year?
I did not, no.
How about a conspiracy theorist?
Nope.
So I don't think I coined the phrase, but I always say I'm a conspiracy realist. There are factual, proven conspiracies. It's just a group of guys get together and go, let's...
myself a conspiracy realist. I will say that.
There it is. If you can prove it, if we can all get together and prove it and run it through a scientific method and other objective people can arrive at the fact that it's facts, I'm good with it. And that makes me a conspiracy realist. We know things happen. We know the Gulf of Tonkin happened. We know that we knew about Pearl Harbor before we announced it. They let some of them boys die so the American people would be outraged and go to war. And in my mind, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
I'll fight for you. I didn't sign up for you to sacrifice me. My life has value. Everybody's life has value.
Right.
I don't like hearing those plays. You should look up some of the quotes by Kissinger.
Okay.
The guys running us don't want this many people on the planet. It doesn't make sense. If your job was to run humanity, you need a certain amount of doctors, you need a certain amount of lawyers, you need a certain amount of bakers, and then you get all these people left over. It's like a board game you play, right? Where you need a minister, right? You've got your like head of security and your assassins and a congressman, and we've all played these board games, right?
Right.
They just emulate factual reality, and that's what's going on. These guys are in charge of hundreds of millions of us, and they're trying to sort out how traffic lights work and where people put their money, and there's a lot goes on in running a society, but these fuckheads at the top abuse their power, and we end up in situations like this, and there's some big show going on, some big game plan, because you can do things on a large scale when there's few of you that control it. Bilderberg Group. So when you say financial reset and I see this confusion, this energy around us of we can't quite put it all together, I think that's really genuine right now, bro.
Yeah.
That's how we all fucking feel. I barely form thoughts sometimes.
Yeah. There's just so much thrown at us, and it's literally the whole entire spectrum of things being thrown at us. We're in a pandemic. The world is ending. There's aliens. There's UFOs. There's racism again. Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
You know this.
Wait, all lives matter. Wait, it's racist to say that. Wait, why? What? Moving on.
Yeah.
Next
exactly.
issue.
So why? The real question is, why is all of this happening? What is the bigger picture? What is really about to happen? And my guess is just as good as the next guy's guess. But, I'll leave it to the people watching this with, take it with a grain of salt. Do your research. We'll provide some links in there for you guys to do that and some sources that we've discussed. But
here's what's great. Every opinion is valid right now, man.
Yeah.
Because if a few weeks ago I had told you we're all getting another stimulus check, but you know what? When I put my tinfoil hat on, I think there's going to be something in the bill about UFO truth. You would have been like, fucking nutbag, fucking conspiracy theorist. And by the way, I didn't think that weeks ago. But it doesn't change the fact that we all saw on the news that that's in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the truth is stranger than fiction right now. So when you tell me that Trump is going to use the military to seize power in the U.S., I consider that as likely as the next thing. So I'm really pumped, dude, that average guys, cool guys are taking time to do research, taking time out of their life to do some research into what the truth is. I'm sensing that around me a lot. Some buddies from the gym I used to go to, guys your age, real hot on the topic. I have a client that I'm guessing is 50 years old. I had no idea was such a conspiracy guy. And, you know, I wear Soldier Brand every episode. I wear it on this show because it's my line. It's my message. I believe in it. So I want to wear that. And as an artist, I only want to wear my own stuff. Yeah, I love apparel. All that aside, I keep getting stopped by people about the messages on my shirt. And I got to tell you, knowing that I've worked in the apparel industry and I've had t-shirt brands specifically, which always allows you to print information, opinions on a t-shirt, even with the experience I have in those industries, I did not think that it was going to be middle-aged women stopping me on the street when I'm wearing a shirt that says your government's poison. And they're like, where'd you get that shirt? I've never stopped anybody on the street and been like, where'd you get that shirt?
Yeah.
I might ask them like, oh, what is that? Oh, that's dope, dude. Cool. But I'm never like, where did you get it? I must have it. 2 people had to have my business card. When I told them this is my line, I'm just starting to put it out. Where do I get it? I got to have, you have a business card or something? I was like, what the fuck? People are so charged up right now that they want their opinions right out here on the front of them. They want it like on their persona.
Yeah.
They want to fly a flag. They want to go into our nation's capital and fly their beliefs.
Yes.
That's great, man. That charges me up. I love passionate people. I hope it all sorts itself out. Can we get back together in a couple days, a week, something, and see what stuck, what we were right and wrong about?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
My man.
Hey.
Vincent, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon.
This
Thanks for
is
having
fun
me on, man.
times. Ah, dude, my pleasure, really. I hope that what people get from this show, if it can make it just a little ways down the road of success, is that everybody has a story, and I'm interested in everybody's story, right? All the famous people I see on these podcasts didn't mean anything to me before it was explained to me that they were famous. I was just listening to a person talk.
Right.
I don't think you have to be a best-selling author to really talk to people. Everybody has a story. But see, there's 99% us and 1% ruling elite is always, right, what's laid out there. I think the 99 of us all need to talk more, and I think I need to focus more on the story of everyone in my own life to kind of gauge what those of us rubbing elbows are really doing, because there's a lot of people above us.
There is.
And I like to look to those people, and I love all these interesting guests I see on shows. I wanted to do a show because I wanted to have the conversation so I could ask the questions I had, right?
Yeah.
So this is a guilty pleasure of mine. It's going to be really cool to come back in however long a time and sit back down a week later after we said all this crazy nonsense and see how much more new crazy nonsense there is, right?
Yeah.
So
Most definitely.
we're going to get back together and figure that out.
Let's do it, man.
Thanks again, brother.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Bye, everybody.